Gaming news today is all about shattering narratives. First, the Xbox Game Pass illusion is officially over. Game devs from within Xbox studios are now criticizing the service. And the sad part is the gaming press is having to act surprised that Game Pass hasn't been good for games or their developers. We're going to break down what's being said, but for some of us, this is just everybody else catching up to reality and what we knew was going to happen with the sub-service. Second, incredibly damning stats are coming out with regard to PlayStation backlash over ending physical, and those fighting to get Sony to reverse course. You're not going to like what these stats show. Third, id Software devs are firing back in response to the glib and honestly stupid attempt to damage control and PR spin in the wake of the studio being gutted. And I, for one, applaud their willingness to call Xbox and even the current id Software staff out on their BS. So we're going to start with the Game Pass illusion. Now, if you're watching this later and you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to hit subscribe. Be sure to hit the like button. That helps me out. I'm able to do this full time because this is a fan-funded channel and we consistently need people to consider doing that. So if you click join, it's $5 and you get into my Discord and it supports me and this daily show directly. All right. So let's start with the first one because it's a bit of a doozy. All right, let's talk about the giant elephant in the room that Microsoft can't hide under the rug anymore. For nearly 7 years, the narrative was simple. Game Pass is the best deal in gaming, and developers love it. We were told subscription money gives studios creative freedom, guaranteed funding, and zero pressure to hit arbitrary box office numbers. We were also continually told by Xbox, as well as willing mouthpieces, that Game Pass was profitable. Well, that illusion hasn't just cracked, it's completely shattered from the inside. We are no longer just hearing rival publishers or skeptical gamers complain about the subscription economics. The strongest, most insightful backlash against Xbox Game Pass is now coming directly from Xbox's own studio leaders. And this adds enormous context into the recent layoffs and where the real blame lies. Look, the reporting that just surfaced, Jason Schreier dropped a bomb on the Triple Click podcast, revealing that studio leadership across Microsoft's first-party developers literally, and I quote, detest Game Pass. They believe the service has actively destroyed the perceived value of their hard work, because it does. And guess what? It gets worse. Former Xbox studio leads spoke out, describing the push for day one subscription launches as a, quote, race to zero. Think about what that actually means. When you train a consumer base that this massive multi-million-dollar AAA game is included in your sort of subservice, quote-unquote, for free on day one as part of the monthly library, you send a clear psychological signal. This product has no inherent market value. To make matters worse, look at how these studios get compensated. They're not getting traditional sales bonuses based on units sold. Microsoft uses an arbitrary engagement formula to dish out internal payouts. This is a formula that Phil himself admitted in an email during the FTC discovery process. He admitted that they didn't really have a sheet somewhere that explained how they measure the value of games. It was, quote, some combination of a bunch of factors. So if your single player, story-driven game doesn't hold attention long enough, and given what these companies think of live service, they're probably expecting attention and retention numbers that are ridiculous. Well, then when that doesn't happen, your studio's internal revenue metrics get gutted. You're forced to compete in an opaque popularity contest against free-to-play behemoths. Really let that sink in. It's not about selling your game and making a profit. It's about giving the people and the consumers a game for peanuts and then praying that you capture them long enough to justify your existence to the executives. I'm sure that will lead to great game development and great gameplay loops, because now you don't need to sell games, you need people to stay in your game. This is why accountability at Microsoft wouldn't be gutting legacy studios and veteran talent. Accountability would be owning owning the fact that the terrible business model failed. Why don't you gut that? Why don't you restructure that? And then let studios try to flourish under the business model that, I don't know, basically all other studios in existence operate under? Make a great game and then sell it. What a novel idea. What Microsoft built is a monster that is currently eating its own ecosystem by conditioning tens of millions of Xbox players to never buy $70 video games again. They completely cannibalize their own software sales. And Defense Force Xbox fans have the nerve to say that all these gutted studios and laid off employees deserve it because their games quote-unquote underperformed. Their underperformance was by design. It was literally baked into the Xbox business plan. When a game launches, players don't buy it. They subscribe for a month, they finish the campaign, and then they peace out. And now that subscriber growth has hit a brick wall. The math simply doesn't compute. You can't spend $200 million developing a blockbuster title, toss it onto a $10 or now $23 subscription bucket, destroy your retail revenue, and expect the balance sheet to magically stay green. That's the real cause of the problem here. That's what should be gutted, not the studios. It's the exact reason that industry insiders are now whispering that Microsoft might eventually be forced to pull day one first-party releases off the service entirely, and they started with the big one. Call of Duty's no longer hitting the service day and date. They built a system that devalued software, broke consumer purchasing habits, and now their own development teams are standing up and saying, you ruined our games, which, in light of the record-breaking layoffs, they should be saying this. Game Pass was an $80 billion gamble to capitalize on the future of gaming subscriptions, but instead of revolutionizing the industry, it turned into a race to the bottom. Now, I want to open this up to you. Has Game Pass changed how you pay games, how you pay and play for games? Is Xbox pulling day one releases off of the service? Would that change the way that you interact with them as well as purchasing games? Or have your habits been completely changed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and be sure to swing by one of my live streams. But that's not the only narrative that's taken a bit of a hit, and you guys that like physical aren't going to like this one. If you spent 5 minutes on Reddit, Twitter, or YouTube comment sections over the last couple of weeks, you've seen the sheer fury directed at Sony. Ever since news broke about PlayStation's long-term plans to phase out physical disc production, the outrage machine has been in full overdrive. We're seeing thousands of angry comments under new game trailers, petitions with hundreds of thousands of signatures, and gamers screaming, no disc, no buy. It feels like a massive unified consumer revolt. It feels like PlayStation is about to run straight into the brick wall of customer boycotts. But then the actual cold, hard retail sales numbers get released and reality hits you like a freight train. Social media outrage is telling you that physical media is irreplaceable, but the cash registers across America are telling a completely different story. Matt Piscatella, the senior director and video game industry analyst at Circana, just dropped a huge reality check, and these stats are brutal. For the week ending in July 11th across the entire United States, the largest console gaming market, only 2 PlayStation games sold more than 10,000 physical copies. 2 in the entire country. And if you think that's just a slow week, well, then look at the year-to-date numbers. Out of every single game released on PlayStation across every publisher so far this year, only 7 titles have managed to sell more than 100,000 physical disc copies in the U.S. 7. We're talking the behemoths, the ones that top the sales charts, right? The top fraction of the percent of the blockbuster releases, and that's their height. Everything else is sitting on store shelves. They're all selling about a fraction of that. Piscatella summed up the massive disconnect between internet outrage and the actual customer buying habits perfectly because he said, quote, commenting is cool, use your voice and all that, but commenting is cheap. And listen, new data dropped just this morning from Circana, and it paints an even bleaker picture. A chart going back as far as 2007 shows U.S. new physical video game consumer spending, and in 2009 it peaked at $11.5 billion. And then 2025, just last year, it was a fraction of that, landing at $1.5 billion. So 11.5 down to 1.5. That's literally 1/10 of what it once was. From 2010 to now, every year has either dropped or barely maintained what the previous year was. This trajectory is what I've been trying to draw everybody's attention to, because if this chart continues and this trend continues for the next, 5-10 years, this becomes an inevitable decision. Listen, I hate saying this as someone who grew up with shelves of physical Nintendo cartridges, and I still remember trips to Funko Land. But listen, from the cold, calculating corporate perspective, Sony looks at these numbers and they see a clear path forward, greenlit by the consumers. Manufacturing physical Blu-ray discs, printing the artwork, shipping the plastic across the ocean, paying retailer cuts a part of your sale, and then dealing with the secondhand used game market cost. That's millions upon millions of dollars in overhead. Because many were quick to point out, well, hey, $1.5 billion is still a lot of money. That's still a lot of sales to turn your back on. Well, not when the margins are actually working against that revenue. When 85 to 90% of your total software revenue is already digital, maintaining a global supply chain for a physical format that only 7 games can sell 100,000 units of, that's not just inefficient. To corporate executives, it looks like throwing money into the furnace. The painful truth is that gamers voted with their wallets over the last decade. We chose convenience. We chose digital preloads, midnight unlocks, and instant downloads. We watched retail stores turn into Funko Pop warehouses. And now that the manufacturers are taking away the physical option, well, everyone's acting shocked, even though our collective buying habits handed them the axe in the first place. Listen, you can sign every petition on the internet and leave tens of thousands of angry comments on YouTube, but a corporate board of directors doesn't read comments. They read the sales sheets. And right now, the sales sheets say the physical media is on the way out. So I want to ask you, be honest with me, when was the last time you walked into a physical store and bought a brand new PS5 disc on the launch date? Or have you gone completely digital? Drop your answer and be sure to swing by one of my live streams. All right, we got one more here, one more narrative to take a crack at, and this one comes from my boys at id Software. We have to talk about what is easily the most infuriating story in gaming right now, the absolute butchering of id Software by Microsoft. And the only thing I can now slightly celebrate is former devs are firing back, because we're talking about the founding fathers of the first-person shooter genre. The legendary studio behind Doom, Quake, and the revolutionary id Tech engine just sort of got gutted. And when Microsoft announced another massive round of thousands of job cuts across Xbox, corporate PR tried to spin it as routine restructuring and optimizing for future growth. But when you look past the corporate buzzwords, what actually happened at id Software isn't just trimming the fat. It's a disembowelment of one of the greatest game developers out there. Let's look at the actual numbers coming out of the WARN notices filed in Texas. id Software reportedly lost 136 developers out of a studio that have roughly 185 employees. That means Microsoft eliminated over 70% of the entire studio. They decimated the QA teams, gutted gameplay design, and laid off veterans who had been with the company since the 1990s. And how did corporate PR respond? Well, they put out an official statement assuring everybody that, quote, well, we still have the crew we need to build the games and the tech we're known for, and the team is back to the size we were when making Doom 2016. Something that I can almost guarantee was written by somebody at Xbox or Microsoft PR and not somebody from id Software who actually worked with the people who were laid off. I've never seen this before in all the years of covering gaming and seeing layoffs. A damage control PR move that's so see-through it's like it was written on wet tissue paper. But I'm not the only one unhappy with this embarrassing circus show. Former developers instantly fired back on LinkedIn and X, calling out the complete absurdity of the damage control. According to GameDeveloper.com, one former dev said, quote, I don't agree with Hugo's statement, and many who were laid off were upset by those comments and saw it as viewing their contributions as insignificant to the success of our games. I've been a gamer my whole life. If you cut a stat in half, everyone would call that nerfed. In truth, the Doom team is half here and half thrown away. Oh, and, they also spoke to the idea that everything's fine because we're back to the size during Doom 2016 dev. Listen to this. It's also of note that Doom 2016 development was brutal, with the infamous Doom 4 reboot included. It took about 7 years and an absurd amount of crunch to finish. The icing on the cake is that there were several key individuals who worked an unsafe number of hours to make that happen, who were also part of the layoffs. Did you hear what I just said? There's more. According to GameDev.com, quote, another source who was impacted by the latest cuts claims Martin's statements is only accurate because there was a massive turnover and exodus at id Software from 2010 and 2011, around 2 years into the 7-year production of Doom 2016, and it left the studio in an awful spot. And just in case you're still not convinced, just in case your fanboy blood is boiling at facts dismantling your delusions, listen to the reality of the studio and Doom 2016 production back then. Quote, hiring ramped up tremendously around 2013 to 2014 for the final push, or the studio was going to go under. On top of the internal hiring spree, which involved a small miracle of picking up Crytek's engine team almost wholesale, we also contracted out a support studio of 21 people at Escalation Studios, which was purchased and turned into Bethesda Dallas, and they contracted support from Certain Affinity, which consisted of around 140 developers at the time. So, yeah, it's all PR. It's all smoke and mirrors and lies. That's pretty much on par for Xbox at this point. You can't inflate a studio to handle modern AAA game development production, build complex id tech tools across multiple teams, and then axe more than half of the staff overnight and claim, well, everything's fine, we're back to the size we were in 2016 when we were so small and it was development hell that we had to contract close to 200 people to help. It's pure corporate gaslighting. And the devs who actually poured their sweat into those games are refusing to let Microsoft get away with it. I give them a standing ovation, because frick Microsoft. And the collateral damage here goes all the way beyond just one game. The id Tech engine's the backbone of multiple Bethesda studios. By cutting the engineers and the maintenance staff who built the proprietary engine, Xbox is putting their own internal tech stack in jeopardy. There are already reports that future projects might be pushed into Unreal Engine because there's not enough staff left to maintain id Tech, and now the remaining employees and staff are being weaponized in streams and announcements so that the fans feel like they have to support the people left behind, who, for all intents and purposes, they could get laid off anyway. There's 1,600 more layoffs coming. Imagine working at id Software right now. They destroyed internal morale, gutted an iconic studio, and then they had the nerve to issue a polite PR statement pretending that this is business as usual. Listen, don't let corporate suits convince you that laying off 70% of a legendary studio is just part of the business. Creatives built this industry, and they deserve better than being treated as line item liabilities on a spreadsheet. I want to hear from you. Is your blood as hot as mine right now? Do you believe id Software can ever be the same studio with a bare bones team? Or is this just the beginning of the end of custom engines like id Tech? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to stop by one of my lively live streams. And that's the show open. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Someone in chat says y'all are a bunch of ponies. I know, I guess, you know what it is? I think people define pony as those who believe facts. So, yeah, we're not whatever you are. Every narrative is just getting dismantled. Every narrative. It's like Game Pass narrative, dismantled. The disc narrative, dismantled. id Software's fine. Dismantled. I mean, I know it's hard when your delusions get shattered with the sledgehammer of facts, but suck it up, Cupcake. This is the truth. This is what happened. This is what's going on. It's like people get so mad. It's like, you should be mad at what happened, not mad at the facts. People are quicker to be mad at the facts. It's like, I can't believe data sheets and testimonials from devs. Like, what the heck? You're mad at the wrong thing. Everybody's getting mad at me. You know what I'm saying? Let's get the goal going here. Now, Han shot first, and so did you, and it's a big one. A 10 bomb came in from Ginger when I wasn't even live yet. Ocean Blue did a prime over there on Twitch. DK Baker gifts one on YouTube, and then 45 months and a VIP. And I have good news, everybody. I have good news. The show will be returning to its regularly scheduled block of time at 9 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m.-ish. Y'all know me. 9 a.m.-ish. The noon thing was a schedule flux that we were dealing with. We have resolved that schedule flux, and we will be resuming shows at 9 a.m. Eastern going forward. I know a lot of you didn't like the schedule shift. It was nice for some things, like show prep and everything else, but it was also not nice for you guys in many respects. So, show is returning to its normal scheduled time. So, make sure you guys have gone through the ritual. Hit the like button. Get us to 200 likes. Thanks for a nice, strong turnout. I know it's later in the day, but it's great to see everybody, and it's great to have you guys a part of the show today. Chime in. There's a lot of topics to talk about. You don't have to stick to one. Bring up any of them. The physical data reports are absolutely damning. The id Software firing back, and the Game Pass narrative and illusion. I mean, it's over. It's done. It's done. There's no way to defend it anymore. There's no way. You can't keep saying it was, profitable. You can't keep saying that it was, it was good for the devs and good for the games, The worst part about hearing this stuff about Game Pass from the studios themselves is it's like, this is on the heels of having to listen to people defend the layoffs and the gutting of studios because, their games underperformed. Yeah, gee, I wonder why. I wonder why they underperformed. Now you have studios coming out and saying, this has been terrible for us. We detest this thing. It's terrible. And I love watching the press, gasp in feigned shock. Game Pass is bad for it's bad. That's not good for the games. They have to feign shock. I can't believe this. Game Pass is cooked. It killed any value from Xbox. Why pay for games when I can play them for $23 a month? They're cooked from all sides because when they get rid of day and date, people are going to be like, what in the frick's the point of the service? That was the main selling point all these years. It was the main selling point, and it was a great selling point. I never denied the value. I always said, yeah, the value's incredible for the consumer, but it's also terrible for the studios. That was the position that many of us have taken for years, is this is the best value in gaming. However, it's terrible for the games and the devs. And I remember being just bewildered by the fact that not enough people zeroed in on this, reported on this, or wrote articles about this. Phil Spencer literally says in an email, we don't really know how to measure the value of a game going on Game Pass. It's some combination of engagement. It's what? Zubair says the value that the consumer was getting from Game Pass was being extracted from somewhere, and that somewhere was the studios. They suffered for our savings. Bingo. And that's why it absolutely burns me up to watch Defense Force fans act like this is deserved, like id Software deserved it because their game underperformed. You don't seem to understand. Xbox games underperformed. It's part of their business strategy. They literally admitted it in the FTC trial. They're like, yeah, Game Pass cannibalizes our sales. And then you're going to turn around and say, well, the games underperformed. The studios deserve it. It's so frustrating. I was like, don't you see? The actual accountability would be Xbox saying, our business plan was reckless and devalued our best asset. We are going to fix that first before gutting studios. They should have did this. They should have done this years ago. And some of these studios would be in better shape because their games would have sold more copies. If they would have done this years ago, we'd be in a different situation. But they just continued. It's okay, well, you just continued to give people a reason to not buy your stuff. So then you're going to turn around and be like, yeah, it's the devs' fault. For what? The devs didn't do this. Imagine working on studios right now knowing your game's going to Game Pass day one, and you're watching studios gutted, all justified, celebrated, confetti in the air from the weirdo fanatics on Twitter being like, yeah, Asha's going to save us. These studios deserved it. Imagine working at a studio right now and being like, well, our game's going to go on Game Pass. You think we're going to sell enough copies to survive? Rissick with 58 months in a VIP. Thank you so much, sir. Got my Halo Campaign Evolved Collector's Edition in yesterday. I'm ready to start playing on the 23rd. Get what will be the first and last plat for a Halo game on PlayStation. Doubt we ever get more Halo on PlayStation. I mean, I didn't even cover that. I didn't even cover that. It's a circus show over there. It's a circus show over there. Did you see the interview with Matt Ball and Matt Booty? Ball and Booty, the twins. They go. Who's doing these interviews, by the way? Like, how are you not chuckling the whole time? Like, sitting down here with Matt Ball and Matt Booty. You know what I mean? Jiminy Christmas. Anyway, so they do this interview, and people are upset because there's a lack of clarity on exclusives. And I'm like, why do you think there's a lack of clarity on exclusives? Oh, and we're also hearing from an article over there at Games Radar that there's a debate internally. There are people at studios right now and executives that don't like exclusives. But according to Matt Ball, there hasn't been a single conversation about reversing course on exclusives. Do you remember when he said that? And do you remember how I took issue with it? And I was like, come on, that's not how these decisions are made. Surely there's people at the company right now having discussions about whether or not exclusives should continue while you gut studios because they didn't sell enough copies. What's the North Star? How do you determine what's an exclusive? A company that you're willing to shut down because you know you're not going to sell enough copies? Yeah, the Halo community manager said Halo's on PlayStation going forward. At this point, it's they've said so many things. It was like that scene in Andor where he's like, we have so many lies and so many things out there. He's like, I'm drowning. I don't even know which way's up, because he was living like 8 different lives to keep the rebellion going. Like, that's what this is like. Like, they've said so many things and they've spun up so many lies. It's like they don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what they've said. Like, what games have been said to come on Game Pass that won't be there? What games were in the showcase that are now no longer Xbox Studios games? Like, the count just keeps going up. Of like, well, yeah, that might not even happen now. Well, yeah, the future of Halo's on PlayStation. Might not happen. Okay. Well, yeah, these games are exclusives going forward. I wouldn't take that to the bank either. I wouldn't. Gears of War E-Day and Clockwork Revolution, they're not timed exclusives. Yeah, just like Senua and State of Decay 3 were Xbox Game Studios games going to Game Pass day and date like a month ago. Now those aren't even your studios. Like that. I don't even know anymore, boys. It's gotten to such an absurd level, it's comical. The brand is comical. It's comedy. It's become a comedy of errors. It's like nobody knows which way's up. You guys can't even do an interview and give concrete answers about exclusivity, because I don't think they have concrete answers about exclusivity. I don't think they frickin' know. I don't think they know. Jacob says, I find it funny how games can change their price due to how much they spent on the game's budget, anywhere from 40 to 80 for a game, and that game costs $1 million to hundreds of millions. Yet a movie is $15 at the theater. It doesn't make sense. I can go see Doomsday for $15, and it costs the studio millions. I don't really feel like going into the economics of why game prices are not set by the actual budget all the time, and also the scale of ticket prices and the cost and everything there for movies. I don't feel like going through that economic comparison with you. That doesn't seem like a productive use of our time. They're completely different systems, and you have so many more chains, like links in the chain, that makes the production of video games so different. And the margins are so different as well. I mean, this is related to the physical situation, if we're honest. Like, they're trying to get better margins on their sales, and they get it from digital, which is another reason why they're doing what they're doing. Also, ticket sales probably far surpass the number of games sold. Like, if a game sells 10 million copies in a year, everybody's losing their dadgum minds. I think there's way more than 10 million ticket sales for a blockbuster movie, like, in a given year, in its launch year. Like, the number of people going to the theater is probably greater. I feel like the theater's having a bit of a comeback last I saw. I don't cover that industry, so I don't actually know. Trill Troll with 49 months in a VIP says, Lono, in your opinion, who's worse? The diehard Bungie fans that don't let the studio take any accountability, or the bleed green Xbox that constantly get lied to but still always run defense for them? I'm going to tell you something I've learned this last week, Trill, and that data sheet from Circana proves it. I think most of the people in our midst that take these contrarian positions, I think they're frauds. I don't even think they believe it. I think they get their rocks off being contrarian. I think they're brigading PlayStation tweets. I think they're having a go at anybody who, criticizes Bungie. I think there are people in every pocket of the internet. That's all they're doing. They don't give a frick about any of this stuff. It's just fun to get into the fight and stir up the masses. Actors everywhere. Stacked dead actors, stacked to the rafters, like everywhere. They're all playing a part. I think you have people in the PlayStation brigading on physical doing it. I think you have people defending everything Xbox does. Why? Because it's fun to them. It's fun. I think there is now a significant meta and culture within these spaces of, like, just rage baiting. Like, they're terminally rage baiting. It's just what they do. Yo, what's good, Brap? I always thought some of it was performative. So performative is the word I would use for some folks. Like, they want the attention and they want the virtue points, right? They called you a contrarian. I mean, they'll call me anything, Trill. Like, that's kind of become immaterial to the discussion. I've had people call me every name in the book for the last 10 years. It's usually just an admission that they're not interested in a conversation. They just want a name call. So it's like, okay, I mean, if you're going to name call, what am I going to say back to that? Like, okay, I'm a pony. Okay, I'm a grifter. Okay, I'm a shill. Okay, like, I don't have a response to that. That's endless. That's like endlessly defending yourself against things that they know aren't true, but they say it because it's really the only card in their deck. Yo, what's good, Abe? Thanks for 63 months. It's just the end of the conversation. It's like, yeah, I'm not doing this with you. So, but I do think in a lot of these spaces, Twitter, Reddit, chats, I just think a lot of it is people are just terminally rage baiting because it's the easiest way to get attention. It's one of the easiest ways to get attention and engagement. It's literally the bottom of the barrel way to get attention. Yo, what's good, Technically T? Make sure to add bootlicker. That's right. Bootlicker, shill, like, I interviewed Kiwi Talks yesterday, and it's always interesting. We all have the same experience, regardless of who we are, what our background is. You can be this guy from New Zealand. You can be me. I'm over here in Kentucky. You can be Technically T. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you cover or talk about. It doesn't matter what your background is or what you look like. They're going to come for you if you say something they don't like. And it's like, that interview with him yesterday was like illuminating to me. It's like, oh, you get the exact same treatment, and you're just out here interviewing developers. He gets the same treatment. He gets the same insults. He gets the same labels. And it's like, I think there are tons of people in these spaces that don't care. They're just there for the bait. They just want to stir people up and get them ramped. They're emotional vampires. Like, that's what it is. It's one of the reasons why on Twitter now, it's like I just post and ghost. I just post and mute. It's like I don't really care what like 80% of the comments have to say. It's somebody hoping to bait. Like, just scroll through a lot of these tweets nowadays and you can literally see it. It's like, this is just people trying to bait. Because it works. It works. The positive reinforcement's there, man. They get the clicks, they get the likes, they get the rage, and they eat it up. We all know people in real life whose first solution to any problem is to start yelling and be angry. It's a great market to tap into. Yes. They don't play games. They built a talking persona on YouTube and Twitter about gaming while never gaming. Yeah, I know that. Like, there was a guy last night. I didn't see what he said because somebody replied to him. I just posted, I've been tracking all the games I completed. And the guy was acting like 18 games in the year is not enough. Like, we're 7 months into 2026, and I've rolled credits on 18 games. I've actually rolled credits on 20 or 21, but I just slowly post them on Twitter whenever I think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, and I pull up in my list. I'm like, what's the next game I need to tweet? Just tracking all the games I've completed so that people can see, like, oh yeah, what's he playing? What's he thinking about? And what's good, Mark? I see you in the chat as well. I posted a 3D print. I made a platinum trophy, and Furry attacked me. Those are pretty cool. You could probably, well, you'd probably have to deal with PlayStation if you sold them. They're very dope. I was like, oh, wow. Those look like you could buy them from PlayStation. That's how professional they looked. But this guy said this, 18 games. And I want to be like, well, share your gamer tag in your PSN. How many games have you completed this year? You know what I mean? But it's like the post is designed to do that. And I think in the physical discussion with PlayStation, I think in the Xbox discussion with layoffs, even the people that are like going hard and defending, Destiny or Bungie or Marathon. Dude, I actually think a lot of people are not I just think a lot of people aren't genuine. They're just in there baiting because it's very, very fun to them. They take enjoyment out of it. Once you start to see that, you have to sort of give yourself a sifting bowl and deduce, is this person attempting to express their own genuine opinions so that we can bat the ball back and forth? Can we have a dialogue here? Or are they simply hoping to frustrate me so they can feed off of my emotional response like a vampire? Do you see what I'm saying? You've got to get out a sifting bowl and just be like, just give it a little shake and be like, is this person, is this a genuine opinion, or are they literally hoping that I get frustrated so that that's why I respond? A guy attacked you on Twitter and I went and responded to him. My bad, but I hate when dudes talk without knowing anything about you. You're under the assumption they don't know anything about me, Havoc. They do. To them, I'm telling you, it's a game to them. It's a game. They're not getting achievements on their consoles. They're getting interactions and they're getting impressions and replies on Twitter. That's the game that they're playing. I'm telling you, the minute you see people for that, you start to see this is not worth my energy. Like, they let them go on their path and whatever life they want to live, and I just mute them. It's like you're looking for an emotional response. You're looking to bait, and I'm not even going to indulge. Even if you respond calmly, they're happy. So in our YouTube chat spaces, in our Twitter spaces, Discord, everything else, you have to start to develop that ability to deduce. Like, discernment is about dividing, right? To divide between something, to discern, you have to start discerning. Like, separate the folks that are genuinely expressing their opinions and wanting dialogue and those that are not. It's not easy because it often looks very similar. 2 questions I ask myself. Is there anything I can say that would change their mind? Is there anything useful I can learn from them? If both are no, then I leave it be. Yeah, I think it's a very good practice. It really is. You'll save yourself a lot of energy. You'll find yourself spending less time, honestly, on some of these spaces because you'll spend an hour going back and forth with somebody like that, and then you're just frustrated at the end of it. You're like, well, what was the point of that? Because, like, that's why with the Xbox thing, I'll just straight up say it. I'm like, these folks are just running Defense Force. This is absurd. This is a circus show. Like, you can't spin this. The former people from id Software are calling this out. They're like, no, you can't run back to this idea that, oh, we're back to the size we were when we were making Doom 2016. It's like, okay, but you also contracted Certain Affinity to help, 140 people. You contracted some other studio to help, 20-something people. So 160 some odd people were contracted to help get Doom 2016 out the door. funny enough, that's almost the exact same number of people that just got laid off. It's like you're just I don't know if I've ever seen that. I don't think I've ever seen that before. We're like, oh, we're okay. Like, even Bungie didn't do that. Bungie wasn't like, oh, don't worry, we're back to the size that we were when we shipped Destiny 1. Like, that would have been such an absurd response to be like, yeah, this is a sad day, it's a somber day, we just let go, almost half the studio at Bungie. It would have been kind of weird for them to walk out and be like, everything's fine, guys. I mean, we're back to the size we were when we shipped Destiny 1. We're still working on things. That level of seismic and tectonic change at a studio, I'm actually glad that the id Software guys are firing back. I really am. It's like, that's exactly what you should do. Call this BS out. Because, listen, I think one of the trepidations that a lot of developers and a lot of people have is they don't want to be seen as a troublemaker. Man, screw all that. No one cares anymore if you take a pound of flesh out of Xbox publicly because they deserve it. They're playing a freaking game. They're playing a game. They're laying people off, and they want to play a PR in the optics game. Listen, this is what's so frustrating about this. The lack of accountability is so layered. Number one, they won't take accountability for their own business failings, switch their business structure, and let these studios try to flourish under the new business structure. That's a total lack of accountability. It's like, yeah, our business plan failed, and the studios are going to take the brunt of our failings. That's not accountability. What also isn't accountability is they won't even wear the bad PR for 48 hours. They won't even wear it. They won't. They just immediately come out with Defense Force PR nonsense. Like, it's like you guys won't even do the bad or the unpopular thing and just wear it. Just stand there in the market and wear the bad PR. It's deserved. Instead, it's like you got Todd Howard doing interviews and announcing every game they're going to work on for the next 10 years. And we know Todd Howard doesn't like doing that. That wasn't his initiative. He said in an interview, if he had it his way, he'd be announcing games like 1 or 2 weeks before they come out. Not literally like 5 years before they're even going to hit the market. It's absurd what they announced. It's like, what are y'all doing over there? Who does that? I'm telling you, the reason they did it is because they're playing a PR game. They announced these new games knowing 1,600 more employees are leaving before the year is over. How are you making these games? A lot of people have made the prediction that the next 1,600 is going to come from Activision Blizzard, which is probably a pretty good guess. I think that's a pretty good guess. What's sad is, says Predator, without id Tech Engine, all that's left to streamline development is the Unreal Engine. That's another concern people are saying, is like they're going to move away from proprietary engines. Here's the thing: a lot of the times, when you're dealing with proprietary engines, one of the reasons that they're so beneficial is because internally you're working at maximum efficiency because like everybody's like in on the engine. Like if you look at what Insomniac was able to do with Spider-Man, Miles, Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank, here comes Wolverine, then there's going to be Venom, just a crazy amount of efficiency, right? Then look at God of War 2018 to Ragnarok, Horizon to Horizon 2. When they're working with that level of proprietary technology, it really, really yields good results. This is why when you play Doom, listen, you can have, this is where I think people also miss the forest for the trees when talking about id Software. Like when you play Doom the Dark Ages, or you play Doom the Dark Ages Revelations, and you think, let's just say you didn't like the direction that they went for Doom. Okay, that's fine. You can have that opinion. An opinion about that can't be wrong. It was a pretty big divergence, and it's a fair thing to say. They actually really listened to a lot of the criticism, which makes Doom the Dark Ages DLC, the Revelations DLC, is just a joy to play because they listened to the feedback, and it's a very, very good upgrade to the play flow and the combat. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Now I want to go do the endgame stuff because I rolled credits on it just a couple days ago. But here's the thing. Even if you didn't like Doom the Dark Ages, it is still such an undeniable demonstration of talent. The game oozes with quality. It runs incredibly well. It looks really good. Next to Forza Horizon 5, I would say, and Forza Horizon 6, I would say Doom the Dark Ages is one of the games that really showed off the Series X and what an Xbox Studio game is capable of. It's excellent work. The movement, the graphics, the sound effects. Soundtrack's not quite as good as it should be, but, I don't know what the heck happened with Mick. Huge mistake. But everything else is at such a high degree of technical quality and a demonstration of studio pedigree. And if you're like, oh, but people didn't like it as much or it didn't sell as well, okay, but that's not the only determination of, like, what is that studio worth? Hey, what's good, Jez? A 5 bomb from Jez Corden. I liked your article, by the way, Jez, about, what was the phrasing? I need to look it up. It was like about was it the soul of Xbox or something? Like, you were basically saying, like, what I think you're doing the same thing that I'm kind of doing is, like, what is the North Star here? Where is this brand going? You use some kind of a phrase like that, and I really appreciated that perspective. I was like, yes, this is exactly the type of questioning that we need right now. What's the North Star? Where's the brand going? Because if you're willing to lose this level of pedigree and talent, what will be left at a creative level when it's all said and done? Like, what's this going to look like? And I find it to be very concerning. And again, to me, I get very personally upset by this because of my history with id Software. It's hard not to. It's really, really hard not to, because of growing up with the very first computer game I ever played was Wolfenstein 3D, and then I got into Doom, and then I was in Quake 3 Rocket Arena Clans. I literally went all the way to Dearborn, Michigan 2 times for a huge LAN party to literally play Quake 3 Arena, and it's just like, I don't know, saturation of attention is a problem for everyone right now. Opportunities are just decreased. Well, and that's what the Game Pass criticism is that there's some arbitrary amount of engagement that you have to hit. Nobody really knows. It doesn't seem like anybody even knows what level of attention you need to get to, like, justify, like, oh, you brought enough value to Game Pass. It's like, I remember the email from Phil. He was like, we don't really know. It's like a combination of things. And I'm like, you need to figure that out if you're going to put games on there day and date. Microsoft will align Minecraft closer to Xbox to fit it. You need more humans to come into core gaming, but youngsters yearn for Roblox. I just don't know. I don't know if chasing that generation is the right call either. I look at PlayStation targeting India, China, and Japan as a far better business decision, and I don't know if Xbox and Microsoft even have that in their mind. You know what I mean? If you guys haven't done so already, please very quickly hit that like button. Try to get us to 200 likes. That does really help me out. And as a reminder, shows will be going back to 9 a.m. Eastern. We had some scheduling things we were shifting around. We have rectified those things. We will be returning to our regularly scheduled program every day at 9 a.m. Eastern. I'm of the mind that Roblox players will evolve. That's something that I have said too. I don't know if you can count on a lack of maturation. Like my nephews, for example, they were all about Clash of Clans and mobile games and these cheesy little dinky games. And now the oldest of them plays Rainbow Six Siege on PC all the time. The second oldest has a PS5 and played Spider-Man, Lies of P, and a lot of Call of Duty. Like, as they grew, their tastes changed. And I don't know if we can count on them just, like, permanently staying like in a mindless Roblox hive mind of, like, well, it's got to be live service, and it, like, I just don't know. I don't know if they're going to stay there. I don't know if that trend holds. Got no choice but to chase the generation. Old people be dying eventually. China won't let Western companies thrive there. Agree, going global would help. Yeah, I mean, that is a barrier for Xbox. Like, PlayStation is just starting to crack that nut of, like, let's get into the Chinese market. I think Astrobot is going to be instrumental. I really do. The China Hero Project and Astrobot, I actually think are going to be instrumental in PlayStation doing well in China and then getting new customers and new consumers to weather the stagnation problem of like, well, no, but you're not going to find new console purchasers in Europe and America anytime soon. Now, as the generation gets older, like my kids are 10 and 12, when they're, in 10 years, are they going to be like, oh, I can't wait to buy a PlayStation 6, or a PlayStation 7? Will my kiddos have that outlook? Like, I don't know. Will their peers have that outlook? I don't know. I don't know if there's a natural maturation within gaming preferences. Like, my kids love Fortnite right now. That's all they want to play is Fortnite and stupid little mobile games, right? They didn't get that. Here's the thing, and this just came to me. My kiddos didn't get that trend from their peers or their friends. They literally just got it because, like, that's what appeals to them right now. And I think it appeals to them right now because they're 10 and they're 12. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that these games appeal to that age demographic. I think it's literally how they're built. They're built to appeal to that age demographic. So that means you would think they're going to get to a point. My daughter's already asking about the more serious games. She's 12. She'll be 13. She's already asking about like Yote and Horizon and games like that. Now, I keep telling her, no, you got to wait. I want you to be a little bit older before you play games with more like mature themes, dialogue and things like that. So it's like, I don't think they're going to stay there. I think that might be the fundamental mistake of thinking, well, the younger generation doesn't really care about this, therefore they never will. And it's like, I just don't think, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think it's necessarily an incorrect prediction. It could ring true in the future, but looking at my own children and looking at my nephews and looking at the other guys around me that are in teen to college age, I'm like, they don't stay there. Like, I want you to picture a bunch of college-age people. They're all 12 right now, and then when they're 22, you think that's what they're still going to be doing? They're going to be getting back from their psychology course or their business ethics course, and they're going to be like, I can't wait to play more Roblox. Like, that's all. They're just going to stay there. I just don't buy it. I don't. I think there's a natural maturation of taste that happens with movies, with TV shows, with board games, with video games. We don't play Candyland when we're in our 20s, unless we have children. We don't like, hey guys, thanks for coming over for game night. We're going to play Candyland. Why? Well, because that's what I played when I was growing up. Like, no, your taste mature and you play new things. Like, I don't know. I get why people are worried about that. The attention economy is seeing a shift towards the TikTokification and the Robloxification of that gen, but I don't know if they stay there. I just don't think they stay there. And I think that is where we're going to see this business plan not go in their favor. Like, I think Nintendo is going to continue to get new people and PlayStation is going to continue to get new people because 12-year-olds become 22-year-olds and they don't keep playing frickin' Roblox. That's my take in theory, is that they're not going to statically stay there with respect to taste and preference. I've seen it play out in front of me. I've seen it happen with my own nephews. A few years ago, all I played is Destiny. Now I play no Destiny. All things are impermanent. China is not going to buy expensive consoles. Chinese can get refurbished GPUs and increase VRAM etc. from within the country. PC will rule forever in China. I mean, I think acting as if every economic structure will be the same as it always is absolutely foolish if you've studied any business or any of the global trends. I just don't think so. I'm not saying that China won't be PC dominant for the foreseeable future, but acting like that's an eternal thing, that's not eternal. That's not guaranteed. Console doesn't need to rule in China. They just need a piece of the pie. PC can stay dominant. Yeah, like if they can get 5% of that culture to pay attention to them, that's an insane number of people. You know? I know tons of people on Discord that are 18 to 20 and they only play Roblox. I always tell them it's not a real game. Again, I just don't know if they're always going to stay there. Turns out You don't own your physical games forever. They have an expiration date. According to a study by the Canadian Conservation Institute, read-only Blu-ray discs are expected to remain usable for 10 to 20 years. A read-only disc, a BD-ROM, it comes with pre-recorded digital data, such as movie or games. So based on CCI's observation, physical PS4 and PS5 discs may only last up to 2 decades. I just think natural wear and tear of materials is normal. I don't know if that's accurate, though. I've seen other people say that the degradation of the discs is largely overstated. Guys, double check and make sure you did hit the like button. We had like 172, and I said, hey, let's try to get to 200 likes. We got 4 likes. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Everybody make sure it's saving your like count. I know you guys like to listen and lurk. I love that you listen and lurk. Just make sure you listen, lurk, and you like, okay? The 3 principles, the 3 L's of live streaming, all right? Lono, I challenge you to a game of Pogs because we played it as kids. Yeah, Pogs is actually pretty dope. Roblox is an audience-built platform. The games will mature with them just like YouTube. Gaming is more Gen Z and millennial. I think a lot of what people say about gaming is based on predictions of how things are now, as if those things won't change. And I just don't know if I agree with that. I don't think any of us really truly knows. Like, every business is placing bets. PlayStation's placing bets in China and Japan and India. Xbox is placing its own bets in certain funnels of attention or, MAU focuses. Like, even PlayStation has said MAU is not all they're focused on. They're focused on customer lifetime value. Like, they want to make sure that they're getting and extracting as much money as they can from every single consumer. What the frick? Why does that happen? That was my teleprompter resetting along with all of my browsers. That was very weird. Anyway. They thought this dynasty would last for forever. We all know how that turned out. Yeah, every empire falls. You know what I mean? Every empire falls. LLLing right now. That's right. Get those 3 L's going, right? Listen, lurk, and like. There you go. By the way, if you're looking for a good co-op shooter, Madam and I feel like we had gotten enough out of Astral Ascent. We beat the final boss, I don't know, probably 10 different times, and I didn't really feel like continuing. We boosted the difficulty up to like level 4 and needed to go all the way to 5 and then 6 for us to quote-unquote actually beat the final boss. We weren't really going to vibe with continuing to do that. We had a great time, 30-something hours out of Astral Ascent. We have moved on to Abyssus. We played it last night. Extremely fun, well-built rogue shooter, up to 4-player co-op, really good systems, movement, shooting feels good. I recommend Abyssus. It's on all platforms as far as I know. I don't know if it's on the Switch, but it's on all platforms. It's on Xbox, Steam, and PlayStation. It's literally the word abyss with US at the end. Abyssus is the name of the game. I might start doing a series on the channel, like recommending good co-op games that I'm playing with Madam, because we've played a bunch this year that we've really enjoyed. I play strictly single-player story-driven games. Well, if you play strictly, single-player story-driven games, I feel like there's going to be a continued theme of that in the market. They've sold incredibly well this year, and there's been a ton of them. I don't play online games. I don't think you're going to have to worry about that going forward. Here's something that trend chasing can serve our benefit. And I know that sounds crazy, okay? But trend chasing can serve our benefit. A lot of executives are probably watching the news feeds right now, and they're watching these sales charts right now. And do you know what? They're looking at sales charts, and they're seeing a bunch of single-player games dominate the top of the charts. And I got news for you. That's going to be, I think, a big trend swap that we're going to see. I don't think live service is going away, but it wouldn't shock me at all if seeing the rise in the success in the sales charts for AC Black Flag Resynced, 007 First Light, Pragmata, Resident Evil 9, Wolverine. Like, I think a lot of these games are really going to show, like, this multiplayer live service trend chase. You guys have got to put that thing into the ground. You're wasting so much time and energy and money build a competent, really good game over 4 years and sell it, and then do it again. Yeah, co-op is on the rise as well. It does seem like it's on the rise as well. And listen. I know you guys don't want to talk about, or not don't want to talk about it. I know nobody wants to look at this. All right, nobody wants to look at this, but this chart is just a gut punch to the physical debate. This is an absolute gut punch. Okay, so this is I'm going to get myself out of the way here. This is U.S. new physical video game consumer spending. It's up by 3% in the 12-month ending in May. That's really good, right? Look at the whole chart. Thank you, Alex, coming in and dropping a 5 bomb on the chat, getting us to 47 on the week. RIP 2009. Yeah. Like, look at this. Do you remember when I said that if you track this and you look at the trajectory, look at what happened just from, like, let's just go here. Let's just do a 10-year sample. 2016, down to here. Okay? Look, now I want you to imagine where it's going to be in 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030. Imagine where it is at 2036. Likely lower. It's just going to continue to go down. Cheers from Vacay. Thank you, Alex. It's like, and here's the real absolute rub. The margins are getting worse. The margins are getting worse. So like back here, they weren't just making 11.5 billion. They were getting 11.5 billion in sales and also getting better margins on that revenue. Down here, this revenue, this 1.6, 1.5 billion, it's 1/10, and the margins are worse because of what's happened to raw material costs, shipping, and everything else in the globe. Like, I'm telling you, when I started telling people, like, if you actually look at the numbers, it's really, really bad. It's really, really not in your favor. And people kept calling me a shill and saying that I was defending it. It was like, I wasn't defending it. I was saying this fight has been over for a while. And now the numbers are coming out. It's like, listen, I'm going to say it. I told you so. I literally told people. I was like, I don't think you realize the business realities behind this choice. Yo, Lance with 23 months, thank you. Took a year-long break from gaming to study and get a professional cert. I passed, and I'm returning a bit to gaming. Glad to see you still at it. Thank you, Lance. I appreciate that. Congratulations, dude, on your work. We need to normalize for total game sales. If they sold more games overall in 2018 and 2017, then the curve isn't actually flat there. This isn't normalized. Yes, I'm being shallow and pedantic. They're looking at that, though, Zubair. That's what PlayStation is looking at. We have a hype train going on Twitch. I think Alex triggered it with his 5 bomb. If you guys are going to gift on Twitch, now's the time. That's the chart that PlayStation's looking at. And they're like, the market's literally telling us that this isn't worth it. That's what the market's saying. And it's like that's why it's like I'm bummed for people that are losing their ability to choose physical, but like everybody keeps couching this as like, well, you're not fighting for the consumer and you're just accepting whatever they'll do. It's like, what do you mean I'm just accepting whatever they'll do? A bunch of us already moved on. We're not accepting whatever they'll do. Our behavior changed. Like, and a 5 bomb from Wired Rope. And let me be perfectly clear. I don't owe you a frickin' thing. None of you here, nobody in the Discord, nobody on Twitter. I don't owe you anything. I'm a consumer just like you. Are you going to change what you care about and what you spend money on in accordance to my view? No, I wouldn't expect that. That would be dumb. Like, I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. It's like, what? We're literally just consumers in the market, and our behavior emerged and said, this is what we value. And the business is saying, okay, It's as simple as that. Thank you. Wired Rope with the 5 bomb gets us to 53, and he rolls the hype train over. 4 minutes left. What did I miss? Oh, the chart, the physical sales chart. It's terrible, Hidden Siryu. It's like, this is, let me see if I can get it smaller so I don't always have to go full screen and like blind myself. This is absolutely a death knell to the narrative. It's like, brothers, it is so much lower than it used to be. And it's continuing. It's continuing. This idea, this weird like derangement syndrome with like thinking that like I answer to the YouTube world or the gaming world, like my position should be different or something. It's like I don't answer to any of you. This is my own personal view, and this is what I've been doing for how long? Just like many of you have done. You have spending habits. And a 10 bomb from Hidden Siryu. We all have ways that we act and behave and spend money in the market, and it looks like a bunch of us just did the same thing at the same time. We were just like, yeah, dude, digital's just easier. That doesn't mean I'm happy with the lack of digital ownership. I'm not happy about that. I don't think we've been treated right. I've been screaming about refunds for how long, and that we're not treated appropriately on these platforms. Thank you, Rissick, for using your Prime sub over there on Purple and getting the hype train a little bit further along. But it's like everybody turned this into an opportunity to fight amongst themselves and to like label each other and to like, you know, I had people in my comments saying like these just awful, horrendous things like, you're just a shill, you'll swallow anything. And it's like, I know that's the way you view the world because you're a perverted degenerate, but like the rest of us don't view the world that way. Like, I'm just buying stuff with my money that makes me happy and adds value to my life. That's all I'm doing. This isn't what people have made it out to be. They've made it out to be some like ideological war where like you're either a corporate shill and a bootlicker or you're actually taking up for the gamers. And it's like, let me make something real clear here. I'm not taking up for the gamers. I take up for the consumer. Consumers should be properly protected. People should be able to buy movies and buy albums and not have them taken away. I don't wear some badge or some club where I'm like, for the gamer. It's like, no. For the consumer, sure, because I'm a consumer. I buy more than games. I buy movies and things for my children on Amazon, and my wife and I buy Christmas movies. Like, it's a consumer level concern, not a gamer level concern. Thank you, TJ, for 45 months. Let me bump the line to 65. We're 10 away. Zubair says, agree 100%. I want people to be able to get what they want, but I'm also not going to have strong feelings about video game stuff. JCP says, I think PlayStation is goofy for thinking that they will stay relevant after going all digital. Most people with a brain will just move to a PC. No, I think what you're saying is ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why people think that that's the move. People just should go to another digital-only environment because PlayStation's going digital only. How's PlayStation going to stay relevant going all digital? How did Steam do it? Steam is the dominant storefront for gaming. Undeniable. Well, probably only outdone by Apple. Apple's 30% scrape probably is larger because of the insanity of mobile and where it is across the globe. How did Steam do it? Steam is awfully relevant. They're digital only. How did PC gaming become what it is? How did it do it? Like, if you're going to come back and say, well, consumers fought and criticized and pushed for things, oh, so you mean the very thing I've been advocating for, right? Like fighting for consumer protections and the right to refund and true digital ownership. So literally the thing that I've been advocating for. Instead of, like, did PC fight tooth and nail to maintain physical? Did they? Or did they fight for better standards within the storefront that's the dominant storefront? Which did they fight for? Which did they ultimately get? Why would anybody stay shackled to console restrictions? With a PC, you can do more than just play games. Why would anybody care about that? I don't care about that, and you won't make me care about that. You're not going to make the average consumer care about that. Do you mean to tell me I could spend 2 to 3 times more money given current PC peripheral prices so I can have a machine that can also send email and browse the internet? Gee, I wonder where I'm going to be able to do... I have a cell phone. You lost. You lost. Conversation's already over. Everybody has a computer in their dadgum pocket, and you think that, like, the consumer that wants to game and play Mario or Halo or Call of Duty or God of War, do you think they give a hoot and a holler about the fact that, well, the PC, you see, you can browse the internet and watch movies and send emails? Really? I have that in my dadgum pocket everywhere I go. What the heck do I need that on a PC for? And why would that's such a great benefit. I'm going to spend 2 to 3 times the amount of money? You guys that think this is going to turn into like a PC exodus from the PlayStation audience, you don't seem to understand what's coming and what's already happening right now. If consumers are going to balk at a $900 or $1,000 PlayStation 6, you think they're going to run into the arms of PC land? Is that where you think they're going to go? They're going to be like, that's too expensive. What I'm going to do is start all the way over and spend 2 to 3 times more on a PC. Huh? Who are these consumers that you're talking about? They go path of least resistance. They try to go where the best deals are. They try to extract the most value out of the market for the least amount of money. And you think they're going to run into the arms of PC? Okay. I mean, make your predictions. I don't think so. $5 from Zane. Why would I spend thousands more on a PC to play the same games? It's just stupid. I get the value that PC offers. I don't think the average consumer is going to be compelled by it because it's going to be so expensive. And all the extra things you gain are in their pocket already. But you can send emails and browse the internet. Ooh. What else can it do? Is there a calculator there in your magic box? Like, what the frick? What, you guys think your PCs are so impressive? It's like, it does things that everybody has in their pocket. It's like I can pull out my phone right now, send an email, browse the web. I was watching the dadgum World Cup on my phone. It's like, what are we even talking about? Your PCs aren't that impressive. They're not. I got 2 right next to me that are probably better than most of the people that give me grief. And I don't think they're that impressive. It's like, okay, yeah, they can play video games and watch Netflix and send emails. Like, oh my gosh, what other magical wizardry can I pull off with this mystical box next to me? Thank you so much, Alex, for a 10 bomb over there on Purple. I owe Purple a member. I'm going to do it now. I keep not doing it, and then I end up forgetting. I'm just going to do it now. I'm going to wear the extra $1. You should only buy a PC for gaming for 2 reasons. First, to play PC-only games. Second, if you have the cash to buy the expensive hardware. Hang on, he said something in response. He said, that's the entire point, though. Why would anyone want to stay with PlayStation when there are better options everywhere? But that's subjective. You think the options are better. What you fail to understand is that the average consumer is not going to think that. What's the average consumer going to react to? The price. We know this to be true. PlayStation's own hardware sales have slowed down significantly because of the price increase. So we know one of the single most impactful things on the consumer's decision is the price. And you think their entire worldview is going to flip upside down and they're going to go buy thousands of dollars worth of PC equipment, even if they go pre-built. Pre-built's getting more expensive too. You think they're going to go and do that? They're going to spend way more money than they would on the console because there's better options. Who's going to educate them on how much better the Steam marketplace is? Who's going to do that? You're going to get the Best Buy employees and Target and Walmart employees to do that? Talk about like the open market of the PC and mods and DRM and all these terms and all these ideas and things that the average consumer is just going to be confused by. That I'm telling you, people get so drunk on the Kool-Aid of their choices and their values that they forget that the average person is probably not even remotely compelled by the same things. Not even remotely. $2 from Kimball. I love that PC has emulators too. Good. The average consumer doesn't give a frick about that stuff. I'm sorry to tell you. 31 months from Danny and 35 months from Lord Horg. Danny says, but the naked mods, Lono, think of the Gooners. Lord Horg says, what other option lets me play the new Wolverine game? It's about games. Yeah, exactly. Where are you going to play Wolverine? Where are you going to play Venom? Where are you going to play Intergalactic? Where are you going to play the next God of War? Where are you going to play these games? Like, this is what's hilarious to me. The same people that'll say all this stuff about PC, you guys are also very quick to be pro Xbox. And I don't really understand that, because Xbox is literally everything that PC gamers should hate. I will never understand it at all. Like, the adjacency within, like, the weirdo PC boys that go crazy and don't like me, their adjacency to Xbox doesn't make any sense. Like, Microsoft should be the highest on their hate list. I mean, the highest. And for whatever reason, they have no problem just cozying right up to that brand and their fans. Here's my question. If Xbox is out here literally saying that the future of the platform needs exclusive and needs good games, it's like, oh, you mean the thing that people have been saying this entire time that is the reason that Nintendo and PlayStation dominate? You mean those value systems that for the last 3 years you guys all said? It's kind of funny too. I feel like some of these PC Master Race boys and a lot of the ones that don't like me at all, it's really weird. I seem to remember some of them saying that PlayStation was going to go day and date with their PC games. I wonder why that didn't happen. Huh. It's almost like they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, maybe if they played more games and weren't frauds, they might actually understand the value of a good game and the value of a good exclusive. But I've only beat 21 games this year. I mean, I'm the tourist, not them, I guess. I feel like they're losing that fight too. So, interestingly enough, that entire narrative is damaged. The idea that, like, oh, exclusives are going away, PlayStation's going day and date. Another narrative dead and in tatters on the ground. So now you're going to have to be adjacent to this Xbox fandom that now has to contort itself to celebrate exclusives. But I thought exclusives were going away. I thought exclusives were no longer a thing. I thought they were archaic. But now we're hearing that they're important. Well, if you start saying that, then you're agreeing that Wolverine, Venom, Soros, Intergalactic, the next God of War, you're agreeing that all these games are important and matter to the future of PlayStation, which then means you couldn't argue that PC is the best. It's only the best if that's where you prefer to play, because there are games you won't be able to play. Do you see? It's like it's not consistent. It's like you guys just say what the fans want to hear. Your position is flimsy. It's as flimsy as your morals and your ethics and integrity. They just move with the wind. It's like you don't actually have a position. Like, the way that these companies succeed, the way that they've always succeeded, is they make a great game. The great game is the magnet. It pulls people over. They buy it, they play it, and they want another one. It's that simple. That's how Nintendo, it's how PlayStation, and for a while, that's how Xbox were successful. And losing their way on that has just corrupted the entire conversation. It's like we're constantly trying to hack through, they're just very weird contortionist acts to make everything seem like, oh, what we're doing is the best. Street Shadow with a $10 super chat says, I just sold my PC. I don't hate PC. It just doesn't fit my lifestyle anymore. I think some of the PC crowd can't fathom why someone loves console more. And if pirating is your selling point, get out. And a $5 super chat from Kimball says, case by case, I guess we got to wait and see unless they start emulating PlayStation games in a couple of years. I had a comment from somebody on, because in my one video, in my one live stream, I was saying, if you pirate something, you don't own it. And they said, yes, I do. It's mine. It's on my hard drive. Okay, let's just do a little thought experiment. Download and pirate and steal a bunch of stuff. And then when that gets discovered by the authorities, just tell them rather loudly that, no, I own it. It's on my hard drive, and see how well that works, right? I mean, you can steal a bunch of stuff from a retail store and put it in your garage, and if it's in your garage, it's yours, right? That's logically sound, except it's the most philosophically bankrupt thing I think I've ever heard. The act of the theft actually completely repudiates any sense of ownership. You don't own it, you stole it. If you steal, how can you have claim of ownership? Like, these are the people. This is the thought. These are the people disagreeing with us and coming to comments and getting very angry. It's like, you're that stupid? Like, how can you be that dumb? You stole it. It being in your garage or on your hard drive, that's not ownership. That's just where it currently resides. It's like, but if it's stolen, like, tell that to the authorities if you get caught stealing a bunch of stuff. Tell that to the guys that were, stealing music and then distributing it like crazy and getting caught. Were they like, but it's mine? I mean, it's on my hard drive. Like, did that stand up in court? Would that stand up in any, I don't know, go into a 6th grade debate class and see if that passes the mustard at a 6th grade intelligence level? It wouldn't. Even a 6th grader would be like, no, logically that doesn't follow. That's illogical. You stole it. You don't own it. You can't own something that you stole. So if I put a stolen car in my garage, it becomes mine? Yes. That's the dizzying brilliance of these people. It's like, what? Possession equals ownership. Exactly. Like, that's the depth of that. That's the intelligence of like a 4-year-old. It's mine. That's literally what they're saying. They're like a 4-year-old throwing a tantrum. It's mine. What? Why? Because it's in my room, in my shoebox. Okay, it's open and shut case, Your Honor. I mean, it doesn't matter that it was stolen or pirated. It's on their hard drive. Woo-wee. Heavy is the crown of being that dumb. It's got to be hard to get through life being that stupid. Really does. It's got to be really tough, you know what I'm saying? Tying their shoes is something they have to schedule so they can get out the door on time. I have no issues stealing from large corporations. They'll steal from you in a heartbeat. So, justifying wrong based off of presumed wrong. Dizzying argument. Very brilliantly stated. Wow. You really compelled me to your side. Yeah. Well, they would steal from us in a heartbeat, so I'm going to steal from them. You know what I mean? That would be like stealing from your neighbor and be like, well, given the opportunity, he'd probably steal from me, so I'm just going to take his stuff. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that. I've seen the way the guy looks at my grill, He likes mine. So I'm just going to take his tiki torches because he probably would steal from me, give it the chance. Like, how are some of you real? I don't know. I feel like I'm living in a simulation where they're like, that show where they're it was called Boiling Points, and they would see just how much they could do to a person before they lost their temper. I literally feel like I'm in a simulation. Like, somebody knocked me out 4 years ago, and I'm hooked up to a computer somewhere, and they're like, we want to see just how much mental strain we can put this guy through. Yeah. College educated. He's got 2 degrees. No. Subject him to the dumbest, most inane argumentation. Just make it as stupid as possible. No. That's not stupid enough. Turn it up. We want to see this guy pop. We want to see his brain literally explode from the inundation of just horrible, brain-dead arguments and takes. Like, just keep doing it. Turn the volume up. And then one day, I'm going to be sitting here, and blood's going to squirt out my nose, and the experiment's going to be over. And they're going to be like, that's the limit. That's how much a person can take. That's it. We found the maximum limit of what this poor guy could take. Because they could an unlikely hypothetical. I'm going to do it without thought or impunity or and perpetuity. That's right. I own it. It's mine. It's on my hard drive. Woo! When I read the comment, like sometimes I read a comment like that and I have to reread it. I'm like, surely I misread this. There's no way. Like, there's no way. Like, I thought maybe he was goofing. So, and then he ended up insulting me. So it's like, okay, well, we'll just have to hide this comment, I guess. I'll just start pinning them. That's what I'll do. I'll start pinning them so you guys can see them instead of being like, we got to get this guy out of here. I can't have him coming to a live show and getting a membership. It's mine. Thank you so much, the OA, for $27 super chat. You're only stealing from large corporations if you only pirate the first-party games. Otherwise, you're damaging a dev that has nothing to do with it. Yeah, because they're parasites and frauds. They don't care. When I read something like that, I assume they're trolling, like it can't be real. That's exactly my thought, JC. I'm like, this can't be real. That's why I said earlier, I was like, oh, this person's just baiting. Like it's like they make the dumbest argument they can, like hoping that you're going to get mad and respond. So I just hid the comment and the person, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Because it's like, you couldn't possibly think that like, well, I own it, I stole it, but it's mine because it's on my hard drive. I was like, you can't possibly believe that. There's no way. That's just somebody rage baiting. $10 from Street Shadow says, some of you are arguing for objectively illegal things because you believe a hypothetical. Subjective wrong has been done against you. If you can't understand that, go back to school. Yeah, they'd have a hard time finding the building. Yo, Ray, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, everybody coming over from Raiding with Ray. I didn't mean to make it like a branded thing, raiding with Ray. Like that doesn't, no. It's nice of you to raid me. Thank you. I'm an idiot. Guys, make sure you're hitting the like button on the live stream. As a reminder, we are going back to 9 a.m. Eastern start times. Appreciate y'all very, very much being here, supporting the show with some of the schedule flux that we've been doing. We'll be back live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Yeah, here's Daniel Ahmad saying this again. He had some good thoughts. He's responding to Broken, and Shinobi responded as well. Broken says, I noticed the little data that claims more physical games were bought than reported was good, believable, and facts, but the overwhelming data that shows the opposite is evil, corrupt, and propaganda from an analyst who has been bought out by the corporations. Yeah, it's like the data point's great when it backs what they think, but then the rest of the data doesn't. And then Daniel says, it's crazy. Man, my mentions and DMs are full of people who can't comprehend that analysis isn't justification. Even though I've stated personally, I think there will be a niche market for physical games and that people should also be advocating for increased digital game rights. All it takes is me sharing a stat about digital games for people to go, oh, well, you must want everyone who buys a disc to die. Well, they say that because they watch content creators who perpetuate the idiotic ideology, and they basically create a toxic environment where there's no oxygen for conversation. There's just enough room to scream and yell. Like, that's all they do. Bad actors in these content spaces are literally the propagators of this nonsense. They're the ones that push it and make it so prominent. Angry Pete, thank you for the gifted, gets us to 78, and then XCal renews for 50 months in a VIP. Like, make no mistake, that's why this gets such a widespread foothold. Because, yeah, people with big platforms, I mean, that's what they're doing. They're spreading the dumb around, and then everybody gobbles it up because it's fun to scream and yell, and it's fun to attack people. That's what they enjoy. Like, I think there are people who are genuinely upset, and they have huge physical collections, and I get that, right? You know what I noticed none of those people are doing is they're not out like personally attacking people and like, you know, sending death threats and things like that. They're not doing that because like they're more concerned about their physical collection and their experience as a consumer. Thank you, bumping us to 80 perfectly. XCal with the Prime, and Stone Spire had the same idea, wanting to tempt a 20 bomb, bumps it to 81. It would be the first 20 bomb of the week. It is. What's today? Is today Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. To end on pace, we would need to end at 200. Let's see if we can do it. If you don't get caught, it's yours. That's right. That's right. Listen, if they mean it, if somebody genuinely thinks that stealing a video game, it becomes yours because it's on your hard drive, if they genuinely believe that, then I know all I need to know about them and their morals, their ethics, and their integrity. It's like, if you're not trolling, if you're not rage baiting, and you genuinely believe in your heart of hearts that stealing a video game makes it yours, I feel like that just makes you perfectly see-through. It's like, well, why would anybody take you seriously? You have the ethics and the morals of a literal modern-day pirate. Like, you don't care about the damage that you do. You're just a parasite. Like, you're stealing the work of others. Like, why would anybody have any respect for you? Why would any working man earning a living have any respect for somebody like that? Like, you're just a bum stealing from others. You're just a parasite. You're just a loser. Like, what? If you're not baiting, if you're baiting, then you're just being a troll. Like, okay, good bait. Like, weak bait. If you genuinely think that, you're just a bum and a parasite stealing from others. You're not a respectable man. Like, that's not something, like a dude working and putting in the time and putting money in the bank to provide for his family or to work for others would never respect another man doing that, because you're not a man at that point. You're a little boy. You're stealing from people and you think it's funny. That's not the behavior of a man. It's not upstanding at all. Thank you, Jack, with the Prime 53 months. And Cat Uncle with 34 months on YouTube. Thank you so much, boys. Late night Lono or Lono at night? Which sounds better? Late night Lono, I think. Lono called y'all bums? Yeah. Anybody stealing from these companies and thinking that you own the game? Yeah, you're a bum. You're a bum. You don't have enough money to buy the games that you want to play. You don't have enough money to, like, support them, and you're going to resort to stealing the games. Yeah, you're a bum. Why would I have any respect for you? You're no different. You're no different than some bum shaking down a store and stealing from them. You're the same. You're stealing the work of other people. They're going to clip it and misrepresent it? I don't care. What do I care about people like that? Why would you care about somebody like that, about a bum or a thief judging you? Why would I care? Oh, no. People with no ethics and morals, like, and the integrity of a thief? Why would I care if you judge me? Go ahead. Go ahead. You stand in judgment over nothing if you're that low. You don't stand in judgment over anybody. You're a thief. What are we even talking about? You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, oh yeah, what do you do? Oh, I steal from stores and hurt the hard work of others. And I'm real passionate about what other people do. Huh? Like, okay, there's other ways to just say you're a walking, talking hypocrite, but go for it. Am I bummed for stealing 20-year-old GameCube games? That's not what I said. If you're stealing from companies right now who are making games and arguing that you own those games, you're a bum. You're a thief, and I have no respect for you. Like, you don't own that. You're just a modern-day thief. Why would anybody respect that? This shouldn't even be a conversation. What do you mean? McWaffle with 33 months. Rip discs, but it's time for the Twitter masses to accept that their community note activism is one drop versus a river of corporate financials. Zubair says, see my last. I have a safe harbor for people legitimately trying to preserve games or playing older games, but if you're just not paying money, yeah, we're not talking about somebody preserving. I've said this before. If you're preserving Coleco games, Atari games, GameCube games, if there are games that you can no longer buy and you're wanting to keep those or emulate those, that's not what I'm talking about. The act of theft would be, this is a product in the market that a company made and they're selling it and you're stealing it. You are a bum. You're a thief. No respect. You don't own that. Just like if you went into some store and some guy worked really hard on some carpentry thing that he's selling and you steal it and you're like, well, it's mine now, it's in my garage. No, you're a bum and a thief. You're no different. Just because it's digital doesn't change what you're doing. You don't get to philosophically shift goalposts and be like, oh, but it's digital and there's no digital scarcity. Oh, wow. What a remarkably philosophically sound argument that, like, it's okay to steal from companies because it's digital. Like, what? Are we losing Game Pass? I think you're going to lose day and date. What's the thought process regarding retro games? If the game is no longer available for purchase, are you stealing? No, we had this conversation a couple of days ago, and I said, if the game is no longer for sale, I don't take any issue with you preserving your own library. That's a completely different discussion. That is not stealing from a studio. A studio making a game and trying to sell it, and you steal it, you're a bum. You're a thief. Bro calling me a bum for downloading a game I have no other way of playing since the company refused to re-release it on current platforms. Your inability to understand my point's your own fault. It was very clear I was talking about game studios right now making a game, selling a game, and you're stealing it and claiming that it's yours. No, that's bum behavior. That's not an upstanding person. That's not a man worthy of respect. That's a bum and a thief. If you're maintaining a Coleco or Atari or like old school out of date games, if you're maintaining that library digitally, it was very clear I was not talking about that. You're trying to repackage what I'm saying to make it negative. I'm sure that's what they'll do. That's what they'll claim I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm not. Like I said the other day, I would fully accept that. Like if somebody sold me a hard drive and I could plug it into my TV and it was all the Coleco games that I grew up playing, I would have no problem with that. I'd be like, no, that's fine. That's not in the market anymore. But if you're going to emulate, pirate, and steal games that are in the market right now, and you're like, well, there's no digital scarcity, I wasn't going to buy it anyway, so I'm not actually hurting them. Nah, you're a bum. I don't respect you. You're stealing. And you're trying to justify it with the most backwards, like pedestrian logic ever. No one would accept that in any court of law. They wouldn't accept it in a speech and debate class in a middle school. They'd be like, that's theft. You don't own that. That's not the same as preserving some, like, old game from 20 years ago that you can't buy anymore. $5 from Street Shadow. You can legally emulate your owned games. Learn and put in the work. Learn how to make the ISO file. If you're lazy and you just steal, you're a bum. I don't care if somebody just went and downloaded all the Coleco games that are no longer available. That doesn't bother me at all. Like, I have been a big advocate for that level of digital preservation. It would be great if you could go to the marketplace right now. Like, I would love it. I've said this before. I would love it if the game companies would work with the emulators and create a marketplace with royalty share. So good emulated, preserved games, the person that did it could make some money. And the developer or the rights owner could get some money. And then I, as the consumer, could go into a marketplace and be like, this team over here does such a good job emulating Coleco games. Here you go. Here's $5 for that game. And they get a little bit, and the rights holder gets a little bit. Everybody's happy. Everybody wins. I think this would be fantastic. That's one of the only ways you're going to get these companies to be okay with that level of emulation and preservation is you got to monetize it, because why else would they be okay with it? Well, they're going to want to make money. They're companies. They're businesses. That's what they're going to do. I would celebrate that. I'd be like, this is amazing. Like, you'd give people who do good emulation, you'd give them the ability to, like, literally earn a living doing good emulation, and you'd have an entire marketplace of digital preservation. It would be great. I've been fully in support of that. That is not the same as being like, well, I wasn't going to buy that game, but I'm going to steal it, and it's now mine. What? No. That's some of the dumbest logic I think I've ever heard in my entire life. That's like caveman numbskull level thinking, to think that, like, well, because there's no such thing as digital scarcity, and I wasn't going to buy it, I'm not actually hurting them by stealing it. Oh, okay. GTA 6 will probably get a discount by spring or late winter anyway. Do they traditionally discount their games that quickly? I don't know. I don't follow like the history of Rockstar Games sales prices. Have they done that with like Red Dead? Did they do that with Red Dead 2 and GTA 5? Did they like have them on sale within the first 12 months of the game's release? I don't know. I think there's an actual interesting question about what happens when someone releases a proper Coleco system with all the games and you pirated a copy of those games. Does Coleco regain the rights to the product like a new game would? Have they lost that right permanently? No, legally. I mean, not gamer norms. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I really don't. I think I am a big proponent, and I've made this argument many times. Digital isn't the devil because digital is better for preservation. I'm able to watch TV shows from the 50s and 60s literally because of digital. I wouldn't be able to watch Twilight Zone or Hitchcock, even stuff from the 90s like we're watching now. Like my wife and I are playing a little game every time we watch Beyond Belief. Who can get the most right. She's crushing me, by the way. I'm terrible at this game. But we would not be able to do that if it wasn't for digital preservation of those shows. Now, it would be great. It would be fantastic. And I would love to be able to do this. To be able to buy the entire original Twilight Zone collection and then actually own it digitally. I would love that. Now, the reason I don't do that, and the reason I've never bought it digitally anywhere, is number one, I actually don't know if anybody's ever sold the entire collection. There's sometimes missing pieces. And number two, with the way digital ownership currently works, I'm not going to do that. I've done it infrequently with Christmas movies because they're like $6, $8. And I'm like, listen, if you take away White Christmas from my library in 10 years because of a license dispute, I got to watch it every Christmas for 10 years. I got my $8 worth. Like, you got me for $8. Like, oh, well, I ain't going to be happy about it, but I'm not going to be extremely mad. Now, I would be extremely mad if I was spending large amounts of money building a digital library of movies and then I lost access to those movies. It's one of the reasons I don't do that. I do not buy a lot of movies for that reason. It's like, I think I own maybe 15 digital movies. Maybe. A lot of those I got on sale. I'd go to rent it, and it'd be like $5 to rent it and like $9 to buy it. And I'm like, I just buy it. Like, why? There's an extra $4 to have it. I can watch it as many times as I want as long as it doesn't, get taken away. But like, that's one of the reasons, like, I won't build a digital library of movies because, like, I know this is the most tenuous form of ownership, and that's a problem. And I would like that to be rectified. That's why I said, like, I'm not in some battle for gamers. Like, I'm not on some battlefront, warfront for gamers. I'm thinking of the consumer. It's like we're all doing this. It's like, if you want to watch things on the up and up, like, I'm not going to sit here and pirate movies and steal. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be like, well, it's not true ownership, so if it's not true ownership, then I'm not really stealing. That's just the stupidest thing. That's just dumb. That is the most not compelling argument ever. That's like Reddit got my degree on Reddit, level thinking. Like, that's not compelling, and it's not valid. I would never ever be compelled that, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to start stealing because I don't actually quote unquote own it. What happens if your digital library of Steam, PSN, and Xbox shut down? Poof, all gone. Well, with Steam, as long as the game's downloaded to your library, any of the ones that don't have any kind of license or DRM attached to it, you'd probably be able to just run the executable. But yeah, you wouldn't if it's not on your hard drive. Let's say you get a brand new computer and Steam's bye for whatever reason. You're like, well, how do I download all my games? Like, you're in the same conundrum. It's like you've got to be able to log in and pull all the games down. The obvious trust we have as consumers is that these companies will go on into the future and be there for you to be like, hey, I got a new computer. I want to download this game that, I haven't played in 10 years or whatever. Greg says, I bought Seinfeld in 4K on Blu-ray, and the best part is it has the original aspect ratio that streaming doesn't. Streaming services has a smaller ratio, which makes the scenes have cut-off sections, and it ruins some of the jokes. That's something that annoys me with digital media for streaming, for example, and I think people still prefer disc that way. I think that's a fringe test case. I don't think that's emblematic of the digital experience by and large. By and large, when I've bought or rented a digital movie, I've not been like, why is the format all wrong? Like I said, we've watched movies and shows from the 50s, and I've never had that experience. It's just it just has the bars on the side. This is why GOG is better. You can buy the game from their storefront, and even if you don't have an account active anymore, you're still able to play that game. Right, but what do you do if your computer gets stolen, lost, or burned in a fire? I mean, if somebody steals it and put it in their house, it's theirs now, according to the dizzying logic of these numbskulls. Like, oh yeah, it's there. It's in his house now. It's his computer. Let's say you lose the computer and you got to get a new computer. If GOG is gone, how would you? What recourse would you have to go get the game? Where would you be downloading it from? You're missing the point about GOG. If you have a GOG account and it gets deleted somehow, you're still able to play that game. What happens if the computer's gone, brother? And you got to get the game again. You're in the same boat, right? Like if your account is compromised, if in 10 years GOG doesn't exist anymore, how do you get the game? Your computer gets fried, or it just goes bad. It just stops working. I don't know. A fire happens, or somebody breaks in and steals it. What are you gonna do? How do you get the game? If GOG is gone, where do you get your game from? Like, that's the point. Is you back it up, right? So again, it's on the consumer in that case to have some kind of a solution in the event of an insane situation like that. Which is why I don't think there's this enormous concern that like Valve and Steam are going to go away, and then you better have your entire library backed up on like 8 different hard drives, like in I Am Legend, where he had like all the backup hard drives. You better have that many hard drives to back everything up. Or like if PlayStation's not around, or they completely kill your entire library in 10 years. I think the likelihood of that happening is just another hypothetical. It's like I don't know the longevity of GOG. I trust that there's a pretty good longevity for places like Valve and places like Sony and PlayStation and Nintendo. Xbox, I don't know. We'll see what Microsoft decides to do with them. But the point is that like throwing out a crazy hypothetical like that, throwing out that crazy hypothetical is just as hypothetical as like PlayStation nuking your entire library or Valve going away. It's like, these are probably not going to happen. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't argue for actual digital protections and digital rights and digital ownership. I want to know how big a hard drive I would need for my entire Steam library. I think I would need an HDD. I can't afford an SSD that big. When you buy a digital movie, you should be able to download the file to a hard drive or server. Problem solved. Why isn't that a feature? Because of distribution. Milton. Part of the problem is the people that would abuse that. You could buy the movie, download it to a hard drive, and now you can distribute it to other people. You could sell it to other people. Oh yeah, here, I'll send you the file. Yeah, send me $5. And you transfer the file to them. That's the issue, is it's like the things that would grant us better control over our digital properties and our digital libraries are fraught with problems, because you're giving the consumer the ability to do all the things that these companies are scared of, which is, wanton theft and redistribution of the property. And they don't want that. They don't want you to be able to do that. I think what ends up always happening in these discussions is there's presumptions that people have about things that are created digitally, and I think those presumptions are bankrupt. You have no claim on it. You don't. You didn't make it. You didn't invest in it. You have no claim on it. You don't. It's theirs to do with whatever they want. It's theirs. It would be like going into that local shop. And this old grandpa, he bought the wood, the tools, the materials, and he makes these elaborate birdhouses, and he sells them for $1,000. And you think that that's ridiculous and that that's overpriced. Okay? That doesn't mean you have a claim on what he's made and you can go steal it. Now somebody's going to say, "Oh, but there's no digital scarcity. You're stealing from him and then he doesn't have it to sell to somebody else." You are still taking from somebody who made something, invested time and money in it, and you have no claim on it. You have no claim on it whatsoever. It's like the idea that, like, oh, because there's no digital scarcity, it's a victimless crime, and I'm not hurting that studio. What? You're, number one, usually these people don't do this sort of thing quietly. They promote it. They tell others about it. They teach others how to do it. And now you're making it easier for people to steal that thing and to not buy that thing. So what you're doing is you're not affecting any form of digital scarcity. What you're doing is you're creating a antithesis to market demand. You're harming demand of the product by going against the very thing that supports that studio. You're not purchasing, you are stealing. The lack of digital scarcity doesn't create justification for theft. It doesn't. That sounds like a really compelling argument, but it's not, because what you're actively doing is working against the very thing that company lives off of, which is market demand and then sales. Like, to actively work against that and to say, well, it's a victimless crime, you're acting like your existence is benign, like you have no effect on the market, you have no effect on what others do. I think that's ludicrous. I think it's ludicrous. It'd also be interesting to see if a lot of these people, like, are they still out here boasting about stealing Nintendo games? Are they still doing that? Because Nintendo has went after people about that. I mean, I don't know. If it's so benign and it's so victimless and harmless, then why wouldn't you just be out there bragging about it all the time? Why wouldn't you be like, yeah, you know, let everybody know how much you steal. Let everybody know how much you take from Nintendo. You know? See how long it is before your little Twitter account or your Reddit account, all of a sudden you get a lawsuit on your hands. Like, Nintendo's litigious. If it's so harmless, I mean, what's the harm in letting people know you're doing it? Why hide? Now you got me thinking maybe everything digital should be free. Right, that's the problem. The argument is not logically sound, because if everybody did what you did, you would bankrupt the company. If everybody was like, oh, well, there's no such thing as digital scarcity, so we can all steal this game and it won't hurt the company. Again, it is some of the dumb. I cannot believe that people actually make this kind of an argument. It's bewildering to me how dumb people can be. It's like you are out here acting as if a company invests time, money, and they hire people. They spend years building this thing, and you go click, download, steal, no money to the company for their hard work, and you're like, well, there's no such thing as digital scarcity, so I didn't hurt them. What? Well, I'm not even sure what size I would need to install all 1,200 of my games, so I should just accept I might lose them someday. I have and understand. Well, I'm not saying that you should no, that wasn't what I was saying at all. I wasn't saying that you should accept that you might lose them someday. I was saying the hypotheticals that get thrown out about, like, well, they're going to take your entire library. I think that is just as unlikely as, like, Valve going away and then you lose all your stuff. Like, all your games are gone, so you better have them backed up on like 85 hard drives. I wasn't saying that that's going to happen. My position was the opposite. I was saying that's very unlikely to happen. I don't know what happens between here and chat and people's ears, but something keeps getting lost every time we have these conversations. I feel like after 11 years, I'm a pretty good communicator. I feel like I was very clear on this. It's incredibly unlikely that that will happen. It's unlikely that they're just going to nuke your digital library or Valve goes away. It's like that's an unlikely thing. Like that's not a thing that's like bound to happen. That was not my position at all. I was saying that you should accept you might lose them all one day. That's how I live. But I also don't play games again, so I'm okay with that. I mean, if Zubair said that, if other people said that, maybe I was reading their comments. I don't know if that happens. If sometimes I'm reading what somebody says and people are like, oh, that's what Lono thinks. I was literally arguing that that's pretty unlikely. So you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, a very, very slim chance. The point is that we're not fighting for digital ownership because there's some high probability that your entire library gets nuked in the future. It's that the base level consumer expectations as well as protections should be ownership and right to refund. I feel like that's just like base level. I'm not arguing that that should be in place because I'm fearful that one day my entire library will be gone. That's not a fear that I have. My argument is based off of this is a base level expectation. If I buy a movie on Amazon, or let's say that collection of Twilight Zone existed, if I buy that, I should be able to have the confidence that in 20 years, I should be able to have that in my library. Now, maybe they being expected to house it in perpetuity is unreasonable. Like if I buy it from Amazon, do they really have to be able to give me access to it 20 years from now on some server or something? But as long as they've not taken it from me, if there's a means by which I can have it backed up and saved somewhere on a hard drive or something, well, then it would be mine. The difficulty again there becomes like, if you can back it up on a hard drive, then you can distribute it, and then they're not going to want people to be able to do that. Your solution right now is PC period. Open platform, do whatever you want is yours. But that's not true. It's not yours. Like, you can't enter this conversation and do it in an amoral way. There is morality at play here. There is right and wrong at play here. Anybody acting like this is a completely benign thing and there's no morality, I completely reject that worldview. You're not living in reality if you think that your digital existence is benign. Like, well, you can just do whatever you want and wantonly steal games and there's nothing right or wrong about it. I fundamentally disagree. I think you are doing something that is in fact wrong. You are stealing. The lack of digital scarcity does not mean you're not stealing. You are stealing. And that is wrong. Now you can say, "Oh, I don't believe the way that you believe. I don't believe it's theft or piracy." Great. Welcome to anarchy. People can steal from you. They can take everything you have, but because it's digital, there's been no crime committed. Your entire identity exists digitally. Can someone steal that? I mean, there's no such thing as digital scarcity of your identity, right? They could just steal it. It's like it's just right there, and then they could just go use it, and then they could just, ruin your credit and everything else. I mean, it's just digital, right? You can get it back. You can get your identity back. You can get your accounts back. They just exist digital. You can just create another account. There's no digital scarcity with respect to accounts. Somebody can just steal your YouTube channel. Just make another one. I mean, you can just re-upload all the videos. There's no such thing as digital scarcity. You can just replicate the videos. So just, oh yeah, you know what? There's no digital scarcity. What if I just downloaded somebody's entire YouTube channel and just re-uploaded that? Would that be okay? I mean, there's no digital scarcity. Your videos are still available. They're right there. I'm just putting them over here. What's the problem? What's the issue with that? Wouldn't that be considered theft? Like, I wonder if how they would feel about this if somebody did it to them. You put all that hard work into your video. You pay an editor. It's all edited. It's doing well. It's out there. It's out there in the ether, and somebody just downloads it and re-uploads it. Is that theft? There's no such thing as digital scarcity. I mean, your video is still available. What's the problem? It's somebody else just uploaded it. Is that theft? Would that be okay? Do you see? It's not a consistent position. It's like it's not. It's like you're arguing for something that means that you don't own anything digitally either then. You don't. If there's no such thing as digital scarcity, then someone can steal from you. All I do is move words and information around digitally. Does my work have no value? Yeah, it's a race to the bottom of a value system. It's like there's no value system there. That's just anarchy. That's just anarchy. It's like, well, then nothing, there's no boundaries, there's no right or wrong. Once it's digital, it's Thunderdome. It's Thunderdome once it's digital. What's interesting about this is the entire argument for digital ownership rests upon the idea that these are products. And you gut that if you claim no such thing as digital scarcity, therefore this isn't theft and I now own it. The entire edifice of the argument falls apart. It's like the only way we can argue ownership of a digital good is to say this is a product that I have purchased and is now therefore something I have some level of ownership claim on. You gut that entire argument in philosophy if you're like, but there's no such thing as digital scarcity, therefore this isn't theft and I'm not hurting the company. We're trying to argue that these are digital goods that can be owned. How does that work if you completely neuter the idea of a digital good into something that doesn't really exist or have any substance or any value? You must not have been around during the Napster and LimeWire days. The exact same thing happened in the music industry. Homie, I'm 45. I was there for the Napster and the LimeWire days. 100%. People re-upload on TikTok. Half the content on Roblox is stolen. Why did neither of those corporations get punished for allowing stolen content on their platforms? TikTok does their absolute best to police it, but it's a dadgum nightmare because there are literal bot farms that just steal content. It's an absolute machine. It really is. It is a machine of content theft. It is very, very, very difficult for them to stop. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they shouldn't be trying to stop it. I'm just saying that's why you constantly see stolen content on TikTok, because there are bots now. They'll take clips from a podcast, they'll throw up the clip, and they'll do all these things to stop detection. They'll have a soccer game running in the background. They'll have all these moving lines, and the video will flip. It's just wanton theft of content. And these absolute buffoons that think that stealing video games is like a victimless crime because of no digital scarcity, they wouldn't think that if their digital stuff started getting stolen. They would not be like, oh, that's okay. There's no such thing as digital scarcity. It's okay that my content's been re-uploaded like 85 times to all these other platforms, and now, people are basically growing their platforms or making money off of my hard work. And if they were like, oh, but they're making money off my hard work, well, if you're getting enjoyment out of a game or growing a library, you're doing the same thing. You're increasing something's value that you have from somebody else, and they're not being compensated. Like, it's the same thing. It's no different. I wasn't going to buy it anyway. This hurts me. Does this mean I can steal a Ferrari? Well, they would say that creates scarcity, and that's what makes it wrong. You see, I think the fundamental problem with the argument, Zubair, is that they only think that theft is wrong is if it creates some type of scarcity, where if you stole from the old man making the birdhouses in my example, he now has an item that he can't sell, and you've damaged him. There's a tangible, measurable financial damage that he then takes on. You steal that Ferrari, that's a financial, measurable damage that they take on. They argue that because it's a digital good and they don't suddenly have less games to sell when you steal one, and you're like, well, I wasn't going to buy it anyway. Here's the other thing. These people lack a basic moral compass and basic ethics, so they're probably lying. I don't trust them. I don't trust them. It's like you probably have a library full of games that you would have bought if you had to, but because you're a thief, you just steal them. And you'll say, well, I wasn't going to buy them anyway. Well, what's the point of stealing them then? There's a famous section in St. Augustine's Confessions where he and his friends are stealing apples. And he reveals that they weren't even stealing them to eat them. They just enjoyed stealing them. Now, the modern day version of this Augustine's insight into the carnality of man is in Batman when he says, you know, they saw a kid playing with one of the rubies, or like a gem that was the size of a grapefruit. The thieves were giving the jewels away that they were stealing. And he said, some people just want to watch the world burn. There are people who probably just enjoy the act of stealing. They're getting one over on some company, and they like that. They relish in it. That's why this idea of like, they're trying, and this is where it gets even more interesting and more deep. Their attempt to justify the theft means they know there is such a thing as morality. There is such a thing as judgment. And they're trying to argue against being judged. They wouldn't have concocted a sort of philosophical system of justification for the theft if they didn't sense some higher order judging right and wrong. They wouldn't feel the need to do that. They wouldn't. Your view of ownership is not right as well. Tech has caught up with enforcement. You technically can't even play music in a club without paying publishing. How is my view of ownership not right? That's called a redistribution license. A redistribution license. You need a MUSAC license in order to play music in these spaces. Homie, that's not new. If you think you're educating me on that, brother, when I worked at AT&T like 14 years ago, we were not allowed to play music on the iPhones. We had to play music on the MUSAC that was licensed and paid for. Like, that's not a new thing. That's been around for a long time. The music is viewed as a product that you can't redistribute without the permission of the label. Oh, you were talking to somebody in chat. I was like, yeah, scot-free. I am well aware of how that works. I was like, I am very tuned into that because I worked in an environment where that was going on. And it was super annoying because we worked at AT&T and we had to listen to the same stupid music all day long and we couldn't put the music on that we wanted. Somebody was like, you could get fined. If somebody comes in here and you guys were, I think at the time it was Pandora. $2 from Forget Me Not. Did you see Mystic Ryan's argument for physical? I did not. Digital theft hurts the game developers, which impacts future projects. I don't understand how chat doesn't grasp that concept. Developers get paid from sales. The argument goes like this, Gunner. This is the argument. There's no such thing as digital scarcity, so I'm not taking away from another person's potential sale. I wasn't going to buy it anyway, so they're not losing any money. That's the argument. It sounds good if you're dumb. It's a convincing argument if you're stupid. I mean that full chest. Like, that sounds really convincing if you're an absolute idiot. The idea that, like, theft is only wrong if there's actually, like, a potential sale that's now gone. Their belief is that theft is not inherently wrong. That's their belief, is that theft is not inherently wrong. The act is inherently wrong. Like, you either believe that, like, theft at its base level is just something that is wrong, And if you don't believe that, then again, it's anarchy then. It's like, well, if there's no, let me ask you something. If there's no tangible monetary loss, according to this logical system they've concocted, then anybody can steal any of your digital things as well. This is completely undercutting the entire argument for digital ownership. Like, let's say we get our wish and we get digital ownership, right? And you hack into my computer and you steal all the things that I've paid for because my security's bad. You know, I'm an old man and I'm dumb and my password is password. And you steal everything I've ever paid for. Now, you could argue, oh, well, there's no monetary damage to you. You can just download them all again. Wouldn't that have you feel in a certain kind of way? That you paid all this money to build this library and someone just basically hacked into your computer and stole it all? I mean, you'd have to go through all that time and all that hassle of re-downloading everything. Do you see? It's like, it doesn't work. It's like you're literally eroding at the very idea that many of us are fighting for, that digital ownership should be a thing, while simultaneously you're arguing that a digital good is not a good that can be stolen. Do you see? It doesn't work. It's philosophically bankrupt. It's inconsistent. It's like, if we're going to argue for digital ownership, I'm all for that. Like, if I buy a movie, album, video game, I should be able to own that. I should be able to retain that ownership in perpetuity. Now, many people go further than this, and they think there should be a marketplace for you to sell your digital items. Ugh. That gets really, really tough to manage and legislate. There's loopholes, and you know that it would be absolutely exploited within 72 hours. People would be selling games while retaining the game, and selling the game and retaining the game. You know, people would figure out loopholes and exploit that 10 times before Friday. So I don't necessarily fight for that. I know that a secondary digital market would be great. I don't see a way of doing that without it being fraught with problems. Okay. It would be an always online service. It would just, I'm telling you, it would not have loopholes. Paul, come on. Come on. Somebody would figure it out, brother. Within like 7 days, it would be abused. It would be ruined. Okay? It would be ruined. So, like, I think that's a bridge too far. I think fighting for true digital ownership and right to refund, that only works if the actual digital item is considered a good that I can then have some claim on within ownership. That doesn't work if you're going to justify theft by the fact that there's no such thing as digital scarcity. That completely undercuts the very idea of it being a digital good that has inherent value. Let me ask you something. Why does it have inherent value that's worthy of protection if there is no inherent value because you steal it, it doesn't hurt anybody? Do you see? The only way for it to be a harmonious philosophical view of a digital item, the only way for it to function and work is you have to argue that the digital good has inherent value. And that's why we want to own it. You can't take it away. Here's another way of looking at this. There's no such thing as digital scarcity, but there's also no such thing as like digital degradation. It's not like if you boot up right now and you play Ghosts of Yote, you're not like, yeah, starting to show some wear and tear as a game, you know, digitally it's kind of wearing down. That's not a thing, right? So it's not like the companies couldn't argue that, well, you got a game digitally, it's okay for us to take it away because it's degraded and declined in value over time, so now it's not worth anything. It's not worth the $70 you purchased it for. It's worth $0, so we can take it away from you. Do you see? The minute you argue the digital good doesn't have inherent value worthy of protection, you're literally justifying the idea that they can take these games away from us. You are. You're like, yeah, that's fine. Because they could just argue that, the item in and of itself loses value over time. It's not worth the 70 at purchase. After 5 or 6 years, they could claim it's virtually not worth anything now, in our view, because it's a digital good that is completely arbitrary to the defining, legal parameters of our TOS. So we can now take the game from you. Street Shadow with a $10 super chat. 2 things. 1, on digital games. Mystic Ryan has a mature take on this from a hardcore PlayStation and physical guy. 2, I recently discovered an awesome creator named Heaven Sent, who covers early 2000s gaming. Nice. Oh, somebody asked me a little bit ago if I have ever played Death Knight. I actually played it quite a bit. I think I played it for 10 or 12 hours, and then I feel like I hit a wall. I can't remember what happened. I hit like a progression wall. Like you couldn't I couldn't get you have to beat the levels in a certain way to like unlock things for your character, and I had kind of had my fill of it. It got a little too crazy and a little too intense. I really liked it for about, I feel like 10 or 12 hours. What's good, Snow? I think I liked it for about 10 or 12 hours. And then after that, I didn't. It was like I hit a progression wall. So, what's good, Dan? How are you? Second part's random, by the way. That's what she said. Hey-o! I don't even know what I said. When we buy games now, it's literally in the EULA that we do not own the game. So is piracy really stealing if buying isn't owning? Yeah, I think that platitude's vapid and empty. I don't think you're saying anything. You're not. It's their property, and they have a right to sell it in the way that they see fit. That doesn't mean you have a right to steal it. Something about losing interest after 12 hours. I mean, I haven't, so I don't know what you mean. Like, what are you talking about? The thing is just because the EULA states that it's a revocable license, that doesn't logically follow that then you have a right to steal it. Like, again, the issue isn't. Here's the problem. Let's just say you're right. Okay? The problem with what you're saying is you're going further than the company. The company is selling you a game, and they're saying it's a revocable license. Okay? You're going further than that. You're going further than that. You're saying this is not a digital good with inherent value. This thing is free to be stolen, just wantonly. You're going further than the company. You're worse than them. You're like, well, because they've determined that they're going to sell me a revocable license, I've determined that the game has no inherent value and I should be able to steal it. What? Huh? No, you're worse than them. You're worse than them. The other thing is you're working against the very idea and the very argument of digital ownership. You just said that you're arguing the thing has no inherent value, so I'm okay to steal it. The other thing that's interesting is doesn't this undercut the very problem with the whole physical dilemma? Doesn't it? So the essence of the game is on the disc, and now its value is different than it being on a hard drive that you download from? Its location determines its value? I don't think anybody thinks about having like a philosophically harmonious position. They just say whatever justifies their actions. They're not attempting to have a concrete functioning system of morality. They have one that's convenient to their preferences, which is why I don't respect it. You don't have like this sort of like a priori commitment to like, this is morality, this is right and wrong, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to live in accordance with this. It's like, no, you just cherry pick moral waxings and terms that you think justify what you're already doing. Does that make sense? Like, you're only saying this because you want to steal. You're not saying this because this is an actual harmonious philosophical position that that would be respected in environments of like logic and reason and debate. It's just, well, this is a convenient way to justify stealing video games. So if buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. And you like, straighten your monocle. It's like, come on. Theft is either wrong or it isn't. Why are we still having this conversation about stealing games? Stealing is stealing no matter how much people want to sugarcoat it or rationalize it. I mean, it's an ongoing conversation. And here's the thing. I actually think it's foundational to the digital ownership discussion. I do. It's foundational to it. One of the greatest threats to digital ownership, I'm telling you, one of the greatest threats to digital ownership is piracy. It's the biggest problem. Because the minute they give you any sort of claim over it, now it can be pirated and distributed. So like that's the issue. It's like, do you ever think about this? What about stealing a girl's OnlyFans? Oh, you have no claim on that. Why should you be allowed to steal that? Like, I'm not going to get into that kind of content discussion with you. That's not what we're talking about. But if somebody is creating something, whether it's feet pictures or a video game, you have no claim on that just because it's digital. I was never going to buy her feet pictures anyway. So she's not losing any customers, and there's no such thing as digital scarcity. It's you're stealing. It's wrong. Now, the reason this is a foundational problem with digital ownership, the reason that piracy is part of the problem, piracy was the seedbed for all of this. Don't act like it wasn't. It literally was. Where do you think all this came from? Where do you think all this came from? Where? Wild analogy, but yes, clock it. Listen. Everybody likes a good sample, a good feet picture every now and again, right? But you shouldn't be stealing. You shouldn't be stealing, okay? I'm not going to get on a high horse about the kind of content that you consume. Don't steal, okay? Here's the thing. Historically speaking, these companies started doing this sort of thing. This all had its birth in the theft of music. That's where all this started. We were all there. We were all using Napster and LimeWire. I built a computer for a guy 24 years ago, and he ruined it with LimeWire. He had all this, malware and crap on it. But we were there, and this is what it led to. The ease with which people. I remember being at a guy's house, and he showed me how he was able to download video games for free. I remember him showing me how he did it. I think it was Pirate Bay. I think is what he was using. And he was explaining it to me, and he was explaining how it worked, and he showed me, all his whole game library. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, how is this even a thing? Right? Well, what do you think companies are going to do when that sort of thing starts happening? Thank you, Kibble, for $2. What do you think they're going to do? People are rampantly stealing music, and they're just rampantly stealing video games. They're going to try to put a stop to it. They're going to try to put a stop to it. Now, I'm not saying that these companies are pure. They're definitely greedy, and they're definitely motivated by protecting their profits. But when you threaten those profits, you are a factor in the equation. You're not benign. Your existence is not benign. It isn't. That's the facts. If you're going to, for years and years and years, have an entire underbelly of the internet stealing music, stealing movies, stealing video games, what we're dealing with now with all this licensure crap, it all was born out of a response to that. It was like, we don't want people stealing our stuff, stealing our music, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what killed the music piracy issue? Spotify making listening to any music is easy. What killed the counterfeit DVD industry? Netflix, because the service got easy. Right, and I think at some level, though, that's a race to the bottom. You're devaluing the very thing, and in the process, the math can get very, very bad very quickly there. Like, look at what artists get from like per listens on Spotify, right? Boy, you got to be careful with this, because you're gonna completely gut and devalue the very thing that you're claiming to love and want to protect. You're gonna squeeze the thing to death. We, the lawful gamers, are paying for the cost of the anti-piracy efforts. It's rolled into the price of the game. For music, it was rolled into the price of the effing blank DVDs and CDs. OnlyFans is for losers. I mean, listen, that's not the conversation that we're having. That's not. If adults want to consume that kind of content, I'm not going to sit here and get on a high horse about it. I am going to caution people about the psychological effects it can have on you, but that's about the extent that I'm willing to go. Onimusha is the new Game Informer cover. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Oh, that game. I can't wait for that game. Can't wait. It's nothing like that's not our problem. Is the company doing right by the consumers? I mean, if you, let's say you were going to like a used car lot, and you liked going to this car lot, you and your friends and your family members, you all liked going here because, you know, you could test drive the vehicles and you could find a good car. But the guy started having people stealing cars because of this. They were finding some loophole or using fake IDs or something, right? They figured out a way to do it. And so he's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that anymore. And he's like, well, you're not doing right by the consumer by not letting us, you know, test drive these vehicles or what have you. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily agree with, like, well, these companies aren't doing right by us by selling us a revocable license. It's not that they're not doing right by us. It's that the digitization of things, okay, music, used to be physically contained on the LP. Still is if you buy them. You know, games were on that disc. You know, back in the day, I'd go to Best Buy and I'd buy the big cardboard box of, Diablo or what have you. And now that everything has become digitized, it comes with a bunch of other issues and other problems. It's like, the issue is that, yes, things can be pirated, replicated, and stolen. And it is incredibly damaging. You could argue, like, oh, I was never going to buy Dreamcast games. And look at what piracy did to the Dreamcast. Like, the idea that, like, this is just totally fine because these things have been digitized. The digitization requires, I think, new standards with respect to, like, hey, this all happened really fast. It did. I feel like we all blinked and Blockbuster's gone, Redbox is gone, and everything's digital. And like gamers are we're kind of like late to the party. We're like, oh wow, everything's going digital. Time to get angry on Twitter. Like, everything's going this way. PC landscape went this way, movies and music went this way, and like gaming is funny. We're always kind of last to the party. We're last to the party on like inflationary costs of the item, like, we always kind of show up late, and when we get there, we're mad. I can't believe they're doing this, raising the price of games, and it's like everything's more expensive. Like, movies are twice as expensive as they used to be if you buy them from the store. Albums, same deal. Everything goes up in price, and video games stayed very, very steady for a very long time. It's actually incredible if you think about it, how long they stayed in that $60 price range. Actually, came down, because historically speaking, like Nintendo games were sometimes like $70, $80, and $90. So pretty impressive. But I feel like because it's now happened, and like the whole, it's like this thing has slowly been coming down, and boom, the ship has landed. We are digital. There needs to be protections for the consumer, but you got to be careful. There also needs to be protections for the companies. You don't want to have the companies utterly destroyed, and then we have no games, and we have, like, you don't want to turn this into a situation where the companies can no longer do the calculus of like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive to make a game, and now we're in a situation where, you know, games are stolen, games are pirated, you know, whatever. So like, it's got to be a both and I think a lot of the times these conversations are propagated by people who, because they don't care and because they're not real gamers, they do not give a single ounce. If this all gets detonated, they wouldn't care. If a studio closes down, doesn't bother them. People lose their jobs, doesn't bother them. It doesn't matter to them. They would steal games for the rest of time. They would watch the entire industry burn, and they'd be like Nero playing the fiddle. They don't care. They're not gamers. That's why I try to tell you guys, there's so many frauds in this environment. It's like they create this us versus them mentality because it gets the clicks. But the reality is, if you take that to its logical end, there are no games, there are no studios, there's nothing. You're going to destroy the entire edifice, and then what will you have? Think of it from the perspective of, it's very easy to create a villain when the company is this sort of big faceless thing. Think of this in the perspective of the smaller studios that are out here just trying to make it. If you're stealing and promoting and endorsing the idea of theft of video games, everybody's affected by that act of your devaluation. Everybody. Not just the big companies, but the small companies as well. You're creating an idea. It's kind of like the Game Pass topic. Okay? It's the Game Pass topic. Game Pass devalued Call of Duty just as much as it devalued a little indie title. Like if you put Slay the Spire 1 on Game Pass day and date, or let's say Slay the Spire 2, you know, finally comes to console, which I think inevitably it will come to console. So say Slay the Spire 2 goes on Game Pass day and date, and Call of Duty goes on day and date. They're both devalued. Who's going to feel the pain the most? The smaller studio, because every sale is so much more potent to their bottom line. Piracy, theft, claiming it's a victimless crime because there's no digital scarcity. Well, you're devaluing games when you argue that. You're propagating a worldview. You are propagating a worldview that says these things don't have value. I can steal this and it doesn't hurt anybody. That getting a foothold in more and more minds all across this digital landscape, you are promoting something that is inherently damaging to the games themselves being valued, prized, supported, and sold, which will hurt the smallest studios the most. So, I stand by it. They're bums. They're parasites. They're thieves. They're bad for gaming. They puff their chest out and want to act like they're Robin Hood or they're doing something virtuous, and they're just bums. That's all they are. They just have found fancy ways to justify their thievery, but they're grating against the very thing that we're trying to preserve, which is ownership, preservation, and we want these game companies to be successful so they can keep making games. Don't you want the little studios making games like Slay the Spire? Don't you want them to continue doing that? Forget Me Not with $5 says Crunchyroll just took off Black Lagoon because they didn't want to renew the license. If Blu-ray's unavailable, am I wrong if I pirate it? I don't know. If something becomes completely unavailable and it can't be purchased, it can't be consumed anywhere, I just don't know. I don't even know why that's happening. That's outside of my purview. You aren't going to convince a pirate to stop pirating by appealing to morality, nor the company's interests. Listen, if appealing to morality doesn't convince them, then why would I care if they're not convinced? Why would I care? Like, if you're like, I don't care. I don't care about morality. I don't care about right or wrong. I'm going to do whatever I want. Okay. Well, then why would we ever care what they have to say? That's not a person that is, that's not somebody who's entering a conversation or the marketplace with good intentions. Like, why? What do I care? It's like people that do this sort of thing, like they just have this concocted morality and this completely, self-made version of ethics. I don't care what they think about me. Why would I care what you think about me? I would just as soon be concerned what some criminal in jail thinks about me. You know what I mean? Like some guy that was scamming little old ladies or stealing people from their insurance policies or something, and he gets caught and goes to jail. I would just as soon be concerned with what that guy thinks about me. You know what I mean? Some scumbag. Like, what do I care what you think about me? But you're nothing to me if that's the way you're living your life. What? I'm not going to let somebody... You're going to let somebody like that judge you? It's happening because Sony isn't putting any more anime from Crunchyroll on Blu-ray or DVD, and when they take down certain anime, it's a licensing issue. Yeah, I'm significantly against the idea of any form of media becoming unavailable. I don't like that, and I would love for there to be things to fix that. Whether it's that you can go and buy it digitally, these things that are no longer on Crunchyroll. Digital preservation, again, is not just a gamer issue. It's a media issue. It's music. There is an entire... Think about, just for a second, think about the entire history of recorded music, right? Something really cool happened that I know like purists don't like when somebody wants to record an album and they want to go purely analog. I get it. But digitization of music means you can listen to anything from basically any time in history. Any time in history, you can listen to it. It could be a song by Elvis, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles. It could be some classical, orchestra piece or something. Like, that's all been preserved, and I don't think there's any risk or fear of oh, one day we won't be able to let our kids hear Elvis. That's not a fear. I think there needs to be that level of preservation for other types of media, TV shows, movies, and video games. And then it would be really great if there was a means by which we could purchase these things. Like, if you really wanted to purchase every album that Elvis has ever made and have it yours digitally somewhere, I think that would be something that would be worth doing. Again, the problem is, as soon as you remove it from some sort of a license agreement, you get into terrible waters, because you could buy all those movies, all those albums, you could buy all of Elvis's albums, and then if you could just throw it on a hard drive, you're now in a situation where it can be replicated and distributed, and now you're stealing. The decoupling of any kind of licensure is where you're going to get into waters that none of these companies are ever going to allow that to ever see the light of day. Because they're going to say, you're literally just going to empower people to steal if you do that. They literally, one person can be the entire source of a spider web of redistribution. Personal backups are legal, but without any kind of licensure attached to it, how do you prevent people from basically doing redistribution and essentially promoting theft. Like if I download a video game and I throw it on a hard drive, what prevents me from figuring out ways of copying and then redistributing it? How do you prevent that from happening? You can't. You're only allowed to go after them if they get caught distributing it. Otherwise, what's wrong with just having your own backups? Oh, I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with having the backups. I'm saying once you have the backup, the company is going to argue rather strongly that as soon as you let somebody do that, you are now allowing that person to have total say over the property. They can copy it, paste it, and send it to somebody else. So that the companies are going to argue against that, and you're never going to win that fight. You aren't. You're going to have to argue for digital ownership within the confines of it being protected from piracy, theft, and redistribution. If you don't argue within those confines, you've already lost the fight. I don't think you'll get anywhere. Like if you want to win rights, ownership rights, right to refund, we have to work within the confines of the system that protects the property from being stolen. You have to work within those confines. What you literally would have to argue is that the game is not revocable. That's what you have to argue in this case. You can't revoke it. It's mine. Now there has to be some sort of licensure attached to it, because if not, I can redistribute it and steal. And empower others to steal as well. You have to work within the confines of how it is right now, because if not, they're just going to argue very winsomely and very, with lots of convincing legalese language. They're going to be like, if you give people the ability to do this, we're going to go right back to the Stone Ages of piracy, where everybody's just there's just constant redistribution of all digital goods. You'll make an entire, mockery out of this entire thing, and then the companies will all be screwed. Because you'll make it super easy for people to not buy. So much music has been lost and left out of the digitization process. Same with movies. Oh, I'm sure there's stuff that didn't get preserved. I'm sure. Like, I don't know if there's a studio recording of Led Zeppelin's In My Time of Dying. I think there's only a live version, which is one of Led Zeppelin's best songs. I don't know if there's a digital version. I don't know if there's a studio version of there's a Johnny Cash song that I think we only have the live version of it. I forget which song it is. I don't know if it's Cocaine Blues. It's one of them where we don't have a studio version of it for whatever reason. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he just never did it. Is it only the Folsom Prison version? And same thing with, I believe, with Led Zeppelin In My Time of Dying. Like, I don't think I've ever been able to find a studio version of that song. Maybe I've got the wrong song. There was one that I was like, oh, the only version I've ever been able to find is live. Why you could do that with CDs and DVDs, so why isn't it an issue now with digital copies? Because with the press of a button, Milton, you can distribute something digitally way faster than physically. I'd have to buy the discs, buy the burning material, buy the burning equipment, make it, and then I'm spending how long making it? Then I have to ship it or hand it to somebody literally. The digitization of these things makes the ability for you to copy and paste, brother. And with AI, you're talking about you're gonna blink and 1,000 people can have that thing, and then another 1,000 can have it, and another 1,000, and another 1,000. That's the scale and the scope of you being able to burn DVDs or CDs for your buddies. Like, you take an album that you bought from Best Buy, you copy it for your friend, right? The scale of that was nothing compared to what people can do now. And with the dawn of AI, if you think that that's not a real fear for all digital goods, just wanton theft and redistribution, it's a real thing. It's a real potential problem. In My Time of Dying remaster? Oh, so there is a studio version. For the longest time, anytime I went to any of the services, the only version of In My Time of Dying you could find was a live version. This is a great version. Bonham's like tearing it up in the song. But I remember I couldn't find the studio version. Looks like they have a 1990 remaster on YouTube. Which, is that a remaster of the live performance, though? If I buy a car from a dealer, am I not allowed to sell the car to another? Why is digital different? Is it different because I could infinitely copy my digital item and distribute it on like a car? You quite literally answered your question about as good as anybody could. Yes, that is the defining difference. If it can be replicated an infinitude of times, you create an innate devaluation of the item for the company trying to sell it. Bonham's greatest drummer ever. Definitely one of the greatest. What he does on Immigrant Song is visionary. You got to understand, like, it completely changes the discussion. The essence, the fabric, the item itself, it can be copied and distributed an infinitude amount of times. Like, if you're able to do that, again, that's why I'm trying to tell people, like, you're not benign in the equation. You're not. You are perpetuating the devaluation of the very thing that these people claim to defend and care about. And you're perpetuating just infinite regression of value if you're okay with piracy and just stealing and not buying the games. You're justifying the unlimited devaluation of the thing that you're claiming to want to protect. Thank you, Tacos and Burritos, for 39 months. Wouldn't it be fair to compromise to reduce the cost of digital games since it's cheaper for them to be distributed and we can lose access to them in the future? I mean, I wouldn't use the word fair because there's no such thing as fair. They can charge whatever they want for their product, and then the market dictates whether or not that works, right? Like, they could charge $100 for their game. It's theirs. They can charge whatever they want for it. There's no fairness. There's no rightness or wrongness here. You could apply your craft and make a birdhouse and sell it for $1,000. Now, you're probably going to learn that you're going to have a hard time finding people willing to spend the $1,000, right? You're going to have a hard time. You're probably going to have a bunch of birdhouses sitting there. Hang on. Okay. I'll have to do an ad read at some point for Twitch, which we're getting close to 3 o'clock. Yeah. This is all related to the physical thing, and it's all related. It's like if you want to argue concretely that this is a digital good I can buy and retain ownership of, you can't also be inherently devaluing it to claim no digital scarcity, stealing is okay, I didn't take any money from the company. You can't have both. You can't. They're mutually exclusive ideas. They're not in congruence with each other. If you're gonna argue for that just inherent devaluation, then you can't in the same breath try to argue for digital ownership. It doesn't work. It's not logically sound. Physical Graffiti 1994. What is that? UK 7 Digital? What is this? Enter the characters below. Where are you taking me? What is this? Okay. Oh, trying to like buy it digitally. You know what's funny? Did you not go to the site? What? I don't know what the deal is with that song. You can't buy the In My Time of Dying remaster separately. Did you see that, Greg, when you went there? That's so weird. There's something weird with that song. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's always treated differently. Like, you can literally buy any song from that album digitally except for In My Time of Dying. We got Kashmir on here. It's good stuff. They sell DRM-free music files. Huh. I wonder how they get the right to, like, how do they even argue that with the, like, how do they get to the point where they convince the labels to let them do that? I wonder. I do. Okay. Physical Graffiti, been an album for a long time. No, yeah, I know that. He was just showing me a place where you could, like, buy the songs individually. We're super close to 300 likes, guys. Make sure and give us those 300 likes. That does help us out immensely on the platform. Thank you to everybody who has been here today contributing to what we do. We appreciate it very, very much. And I do have a... I need to do this sponsored read for the horror section. So this stream segment is sponsored by the horror section. It's a new film, Ice Cream Man. Okay, so if you were watching on Twitch, you may have noticed we had like a stream skin running. Eli Roth's latest gore masterpiece, Ice Cream Man, is about an idyllic summer town that descends into madness when an ice cream man serves kids sweet delights with horrifying results. You know, it's funny. That's really, really funny. In my neighborhood growing up, I knew somebody with the last name Roth. Funny enough, I think they were related to Eli Roth. Funny enough. Also, growing up, Marilyn Manson's cousin lived on my street as well. His name was Brian Warner. Obviously, that's Marilyn Manson's name, and he had a bunch of G.I. Joes in his backyard. And Marilyn Manson actually talks about like going over to his cousin's house and playing with G.I. Joes. Anyways, we also had the Ice Cream Man who came around. So this is like bringing back a ton of memories from my childhood. So it says this film balances bold, gory style with Eli's signature humor. Scoop up your tickets, watch the trailer, and share your reactions. Well, if we're gonna watch the trailer, we got to be careful with that because we can get like copyright claims on YouTube. But what we can do is I can go to the website and show you here. You can go to icecreammanmovie2026.com. Looks like you can get 2 tickets for the price of 1. I scream, you scream, we all scream for Ice Cream Man. I think this is I like this kind of thing. Like there's horror that goes really, really far, and I have a hard time enjoying it. And then there's this more maybe I would say like humor-laden style, where, you know, I don't know though. It might freak me out a little bit. I think sometimes kids are scarier than adults in stuff in movies like this. I don't know about you guys. Yeah, the kids are literally they're literally giving this guy a lobotomy here. I think kids are scarier in movies like this. Children are creepy AF. Like dolls and children are often way scarier. Like look at her face and look at what she has done to this man. So yeah, the Ice Cream Man. It looks like if you eat his ice cream, you're gonna be just out there committing atrocities against humanity. So thank you again to the horror section for promoting this section of the film of today's broadcast, as well as they did the skin, the channel skin. So again, did they have a date? Where's the date? My little script doesn't have a date. Let me see. Okay, so August the 7th. So it's July 21st. So August the 7th is an hour and a half long. And you can buy your tickets today. If you go to their website, icecreammanmovie2026.com, it says you can get 2 tickets for the price of 1. So you have 16 days and 9 hours until the movie debuts. So be sure to check that out. And by the way, if you guys are watching on YouTube, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. We only need 14 more likes to get to 300 likes. And make sure you're checking your primes and your members and your renewals. The memberships have slowed down quite a bit. Again, that's usual for us. We go on like a 3-month thing and then it kind of dips. So we are kind of in that rebuild. So if you watch on a regular basis and you enjoy this daily content and you would like to see this content continue, that is how I do this. We've been doing this a very, very long time. And that's the hand we were dealt when we kind of had to rebuild on YouTube and Twitch. Not really in a position to do this without direct viewer support. So a lot of people gift. I myself gift in response to hitting milestones throughout the day. But the direct viewer support has been a continued, it's just been a continued struggle. So that is a cultural thing. When we were on Twitch full time and only on Twitch full time, that was never really an issue. YouTube is a bit of a different culture. So we get it. I understand there are differences in what people expect and what people are willing to support. And if you're like, nope, I don't do that kind of thing, that's your choice. But this is how this works. Anyone else having issues with mobile chat showing up in different sizes? The text. Yeah, there's been some oddities with the mobile app recently. They had an issue with the like picture-in-picture. They resolved that yesterday. You may want to reinstall the app. They pushed out probably a hot fix, and it may just be messing with stuff. Sometimes a fresh install of the app fixes a lot of those issues. So, and again, just a reminder, we are moving the show back to 9 a.m. Eastern. I know putting it in the afternoon was a bummer for a lot of people. We were moving some things around schedule-wise. It's been very, very bad for us, so we have to go back to 9. So, and I know that was bad for you guys. A lot of you guys did not like the show moving to the afternoon. I get it, and we're gonna shift it back to 9 a.m. Eastern in the morning. And the best way to know what's going on, sometimes I might have an appointment or something and have to shift a stream or something. That's a really good reason to be in. That's a really good reason to be in the Discord. Okay. Which that's where we're going to go right now for the green room. So that is something you can do if you are a member. If you're not a member and you want to continue with us, be sure to hit the join button. And we do have those incentives every week where we do those extra streams when we hit those goals. And I have really made a concerted effort. I just streamed for 3 hours and only thanked people for gifting and renewing. I not once was like, oh, we got to hit the goal. We got to do the thing. I don't want to do that. It becomes extremely disruptive. I would like for that to not be such a major part of the show. So today and the last couple of shows, I've tried to really minimize that. Intro, I mention it. Outro, like I'm doing right now, I mention it. Largely only responding to renewals and gifts so that we can just talk and do the talk show. Have you thought about bringing back morning coffee? YouTube needs to fix how they do members only content. So yeah, they completely destroyed everything that we spent 4 years building. They just started putting members content in front of people that couldn't watch it, and I think that that's fundamentally backwards. That was an enormous. That was really destructive to what we were doing and what we were building. It's unfortunate. You know, we spent 4 years being like, hey, if you support, if you sign up, if you gift, we will we'll have morning coffee, we'll have green room for you, we'll have these segments every day. And then YouTube kind of broke that entire edifice. So, yeah. If the membership trends continue the way they do, you know, we'll just continue to have to analyze shifting things around and moving things, because, you know, there's other things we can do and other ways we can, like, you know, do member incentives and celebration streams and stuff in the Discord. We're always open to those suggestions. So feel free to leave a comment or come into the Discord and let us know, like, hey, we really like this, or this guy does this, or this person over here does that. I've been doing this for 11 years, and I'm always open to suggestions on those things, because, like, giving you as much value as I can has always been my MO. YouTube doesn't seem to respond to that. We've had about the same member count for 5 years. So, you know, I joke. I'm like, I could say there's a guy in the room that's gonna shoot me if we don't get 10 new members, and people would be like, it was nice knowing you, Lono. Like, we're gonna go watch some other videos. Like, YouTube is very much it's a very transient experience for people. Like, you just kind of go to the next video. I completely get it. I do the same thing, right? I watch a video, I go to the next video, I go to the next video. Totally get that. I understand, and I know that's kind of the fight that we're fighting. So all I can do is continue to put forth in front of you the reality of, I can't do this without direct viewer support. If the support doesn't, you know, if the support's not there, then eventually shows won't be there as well. That's the way a lot of creators have had to do this. And a lot of people have pivoted and done other things, and I'm not wanting to do that. So that's why we have the Discord. We have the stream with Madam. And then we try to do about as much as we can. So if there are ideas you have, you're like, hey, I'd love to see you do this or that or the third, you can leave that comment and we can consider it. I've been asking for pain incentives for a while. People like that. I just think the humiliation ritual, pain ritual thing as an incentive for members, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like doing it. I don't think it ends up resulting in good content. It just, I don't know. I don't like the idea of, like, you know, pay me money and I'll embarrass myself. I just don't. I feel like we have a vibe and we have a style and a brand that is very much, it's very, very high value. It's very, very interactive. You do not have to pay me to talk to me. There are people that won't even read your comments if you don't super chat. I don't do any of that. And I feel like multiple, you know, five shows a week, every single day, sometimes multiples, gameplay, uploads, reviews, really ease of access of me in the Discord. I've only got so many, you know, levers to pull. And I feel like we pull pretty much all of them to offer good value and to offer a good product. And if folks don't value it, or they don't see a reason to support, there's nothing. I'm not gonna like argue them into support. I'm just gonna keep putting the product out there and saying, hey, if you like this and you'd like this to continue, you got to support it. That's how it works, you know? And I think sometimes people literally think, well, it's $5. What's the big deal? I'll get it gifted. I think that's the other thing we kind of work against. We've got very generous people here, and you can largely scoop up a membership fairly easily without ever having to spend. And I think that also is just a bit of a challenge that I readily know. It's like, well, people are gonna gift. So just continue to call on people to see that as an idea, that when you raise that floor of membership, new people get gifted and new people get into the community. And so your $5 does go a long way. You guys that continually do your own memberships, you should know that your membership and your support goes a long way. You're making space for others, and you're helping the community grow. So, and we do a segment in the Discord pretty much every day. Some days we run out of time, or like Fridays I can't really do it. So more long form content videos, maybe, like the Ghost of Tsushima breakdown was cool. Yeah, that's just the difficulty there is between the live streams and the Discord and the green room. This is why I tell people, if you like all that, you gotta do the memberships. You gotta support, because that is literally why those long form videos don't happen. Most of my day is tied up in live stream prep, green room. That is all orbited around the same sort of culture that we grew and we fostered, which was a live, highly interactive, You get me in green room and all that. I can't really do Ghost of Tsushima videos like that. I can't. Especially when that's not what I'm known for, and so then the videos don't do all that well, Omar. So it's like it's really difficult. I've only got so much bandwidth in the week, and my commitment is to always give you guys as much as I got. I give the live in the green room every minute I can give you. I try to give you. So that's been my commitment for over 10 years. So that's where we're headed right now. You can use the Discord command, use the Discord link. If you're watching this later, the Discord's there all the time. We're not doing green room all the time, but the Discord's always there. So what time did you start your stream before you started between 6 and 7? Why 9 today? This was a temporary thing. We're going to go back to starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. So for whatever your time zone was, whatever 9 a.m. Eastern, wherever that lands, we're going back to that start time. We were experimenting with starting at noon. On Tuesdays, I had some things logistically that just made sense to kind of shift it and try it. It's been terrible. I'm just being honest with you. It's been terrible. So we're going to shift some things. It's going to be a bit of a stretch and some pain for me, but it's like I want to meet the audience where they are, and the audience wants the morning. And I'm like, that's fair. I was doing a morning stream for 10 years. So back to normal start time tomorrow, okay? Which means we got to get to the green room and kind of figure out what we're going to talk about and book and build the show for tomorrow, okay? So appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit like on the way out, and we will see you in the Discord.